It's August 20th, 2013. The notice of this meeting stating the date, place, and time has been disseminated as required under the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. This meeting is called to order. Mr. Clerk, please conduct the prayer and flag salute.
God of the universe, look thou with favor upon these here assembled, and bestow thy guidance upon the members of the governing body in their deliberations. This we ask in thy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. In the event of an emergency, the proper method of exiting the council chamber is through the 3 doors in the rear of the room. Occupants should proceed down the staircase, out the front door, and move away from the area of the front steps. Any member of the public wishing to speak during the public comment session at the end of the meeting, please sign in on the white sheets provided in the front of the room. If you wish to speak on the 2013 city budget amendment, please sign the purple sign-in sheets. Anybody wish to speak, please do that now. Ms. Purple for the budget. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Kaczynski.
Here.
Medina.
Here.
Yamakaitis.
Here.
Sheehy.
Excused.
Sadowski.
Here.
Cosby Hurling.
Here.
Armstead.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Koziel. Kalbus.
Here.
Mr. Moore.
Here. In the event of a cell phone, if you get a call, please put them on vibrate, and if you must take a call, leave the chambers to do so. I'd like to move into presentation. Minutes. I ask for a motion for approval of minutes of July 16th, 2013 meeting.
Peter.
Make a motion for the approval.
approval of minutes.
I make a motion for the approval of the minutes of July 16th, 2013. Ask for a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski.
Yes.
Medina.
Yes.
Yamakaitis.
Yes.
Sadowski.
Yes.
Cosby Hurling.
Yes.
Armstead.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Kalbus.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
I'd like to ask the mayor to come up for a presentation for the food pantry from the FMBA Local 34 and 234, and ask President Bill Haskell and Chris Lukenda to come up, please.
Thank you. Council President, if we could have Fire Committee Chairman Adam to come on down, that'd be great. Sure.
Okay.
And Joe, come on up, Joe LaPlaca. Good evening. My name is Bill Haskell. I'm a captain for the Linden Fire Department. I'm also the president of the Fire Officers Union, FMBA Local 234. To my right here, I have Captain Wayne Hands, Lieutenant Jimmy Kushner. I have the director for the Lynx Food Bank, Joe LaPlaca here. And in addition, I have Chris Lukenda, the firefighter for Linden, and also our Firefighters Union president. He's going to act as our photographer this evening. I want to thank, good evening to the mayor and council and the citizens of Linden. I want to thank the council president and the city clerk for allowing us to come up here and do this presentation on the council floor. Let me start by saying for the past 20-plus years, we've worked closely with the food bank around Thanksgiving. The FMBA donates time, effort, and most importantly, money to purchase Thanksgiving dinners for those Linden residents who are in need of it during the Thanksgiving period through the food bank. This past year was no different, but what was brought up to our attention by Mr. LaPlaca here was that what was different this year due to the tough economic times that we're all faced with is that the donations have been down and the need for the service for the residents has increased. With that being said, we got together, led by Wayne here and Jimmy, and we come up with an idea to spearhead a fund drive or a benefit, and we used our annual firefighters golf outing as a vehicle to have a benefit for the food bank here in Linden. So on October 5th, we held our annual golf outing to benefit the Lynx Food Bank. We had 125 plus golfers. I want to thank firefighter Brian Perricone and his committee for running the golf outing. Again, Wayne and Jimmy for spearheading the sponsors, going out and getting whole sponsors to benefit the Lynx. I want to thank those who came out and golfed, and again, most importantly, the sponsors who donated money to this event. So on behalf of the Linden FMBA, we are proud and honored to present a check to the Lynx Food Bank for the amount of $4,500 from our golf outing. Joe? And let me just say a couple quick words. This is a proud accomplishment by our guys. We're really proud and take pride and honor getting an opportunity to give back to the community of Linden, especially those residents who are most in need. So with that being said, I know Joe has a few things he wants to say about the food bank and recognize some of his individuals who work so tirelessly over there at the food bank. So if you guys want to come up, Joe, you say a few words.
The one thing I want to say tonight is that they wouldn't let me play golf. They looked at me and they said, you're too old, you'll hold up the whole procession, so please don't play. Just come up and eat and drink, and so that's what I did. I would like to thank the fire department. They've been our friends. They do many, many things for us, especially Thanksgiving and that time of the year where people are kind of down in the dumps, and these guys come down. Not only do they buy the food, but they also give it away. They spend their entire day with us, and being just gentlemen, and so proud that these are members of the Linden Fire Department. I would like to introduce our president to our organization, our spiritual leader, Deacon John Begowitz. The mayor is not part of our group, but he's standing there. Jay Derringer and Charlie, and I have my wife and my sister sitting with us today because today we had our annual picnic, and we looked around the room and we realized that the average age of our volunteers and the people who run the organization, I must say that we're at least 80 years old. So think about yourselves and you say, you know, am I too old to help? Am I too old to do this? You're never too old. So we appreciate the city. We appreciate the fact that we have a pantry that's providing a pantry for over 200 families in this town. If you double that for husband and wife, we're talking about 400 and some odd people. If there's one child, now we're talking about 600 and some people. There's a lot of people being fed through that pantry. And we must say this, that it comes through the groups like the fire department, the people that help us, Sam's Club, the Positive, Phillips 66. I can go on, but all the people that provide help to we, the people of Linden. So again, I want to thank the fire department, and that's a nice check. Well, how do I cash a check that big? Do I get a smaller one? Do I get this is the real one?
You can take that one to the bank.
This is. You can take that to the bank. What will happen if I take that one?
Thank you.
Thank you. Has everybody had an opportunity to sign the purple sheet if they wish to discuss anything to do with the amendments to the city budget for 2013? If not, we're going to start that. All right, so the public hearing on amendments for the city budget 2013. Public hearing on amendments to the budget. Mr. Sharpie.
Mr. Sharpie, 315 Second Avenue, Linden. Now, I looked at how the library tax was cut. Come on. Mr. Sharpie, 315 Second Avenue, Linden, New Jersey. I know what the minimum thing that the state sent back to you on the library tax. Now, it was 75,000 that you had to cut, and it said minimum. Now, that minimum has caused this library to be closed 3 hours on Tuesday, 3 hours on Thursday, and 2 Saturdays throughout the month that our fellowship cannot meet. Now, I would like to take it back to the City Council next month's meeting. Instead of cutting $75,000, only cut $35,000 of that 2% library tax that you, at that meeting where the library board met, the liaison for the City Council was not there, and neither was the mayor. So there were 2 votes lost, and I would recommend that this city budget and this part of this budget be sent back till next month. Because children will not be able to go in and do the reports, that they would have to go back to their teachers on Monday morning and have no access 2 Saturdays out of the month throughout the school year for 13-14. And if they have to go to have after-school activities on Tuesdays and Thursdays, these kids will have no opportunity to go into the library on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Normally, throughout this past year, the library was open 5 days a week, except 4 days a week, till 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday. So you as citizens should request this thing to only be taking $34,000 in order for that library to be open for our children. Thank you.
Thank you. I ask for a motion to close the hearing on the amendments for the 2013 budget.
Council President, I make a motion to close the hearing on the public hearing and ask for a second.
Second.
Ms. Clerk, could you please read
Mis-
the... Okay.
Mr. Kaczynski,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Yamakaitis,
Yes.
Sadowski,
Yes.
Cosby Hurling,
Yes.
Armstead,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Colbus,
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes. Mr. Clerk, could you read the budget resolution, please?
Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Linden, County of Union, that the budget herein before set forth is hereby adopted and shall constitute an appropriation for the purposes stated of the sums therein set forth as appropriations, and authorize the amount of $52,977,111.67 for municipal purposes, and $1,795,388.10 minimum library tax. General revenues, surplus anticipated, $5 million. Miscellaneous revenues anticipated, $34,126,042.56. Receipts from delinquent taxes, $2 million. Amount to be raised by taxation, $52,977,111.67. Amount to be raised by taxation, minimum library levy, $1,795,388.10. Total revenues, $95,868,542.33. General appropriations within caps, operating including contingent, $66,939,336.25. Deferred charges and statutory expenditures municipal, $10,111,924.04. Excluded from caps, operations, total operations excluded from cap, $4,126,782.04. Capital improvements, $125,000. Municipal debt service, $10,695,500. Reserve fund collected taxes, $3,900,000. Total appropriations, $95,898,542.33. It is hereby certified that the within budget is a true copy of the budget finally adopted by the governing body on the 20th day of August 2013.
Thank you. Motion to close the hearing on the amendments on the 2013 budget.
Yeah, Council President, I have a statement.
Please, Chairman Brown,
Thank
would you read it, please?
Yes. Before we vote tonight I'm recommending the final adoption of the 2013 municipal budget. As the public is aware, this is one of the toughest budgets that have been put together in recent memory. I have often described the financial condition that the city of Linden is in as a perfect storm. This is due to the fact that the city suffered a decrease of $4 million in revenue, a record number of tax appeals, increases in health, pension, salary costs, the state's 2% cap, and the loss of millions of dollars in ratables. Unfortunately, I learned this morning that some members are not supporting this budget, and I take this decision to not support this very personal because of all the time and effort that myself, the Finance Committee, city employees, the unions, and the mayor have put into this. For the members that will not vote on this budget, I would like to know why they have chosen to wait until today to let us know that they're not voting for the budget. After 20 conference meetings and 8 months of discussions on this budget, to be blindsided like this is demoralizing. It is a slap in the face to the police and fire unions that have gave concessions to maintain a current level of public safety. It is discouraging to city employees that have worked overtime without pay to prepare this budget, and it's frustrating to council members who've neglected time at home to adopt a budget that will keep the city moving. While it is easy to vote no for this budget, it seems it was even easier for the same members to vote yes for paying over $12 million in bills to be paid, for voting yes for the promotion of 6 employees, to vote yes for the hiring of 17 new employees, to vote yes for over $6 million in capital improvements, and to vote yes for over $14 million in TANs to be issued. Everyone here in the council is against tax increases. However, simply voting no for a budget does not reduce taxes. To be clear, the only years that the city did not experience a tax increase was in 2005 and in 2006. At the time, a total of over $28 million was used from the reserves and surplus to present a municipal tax increase. Politics and the desire to be popular with the public outweighed taking action on doing what needed to be done. As a result, we have learned that this decision to drain our reserves has come back to hurt us. I'm publicly asking for the help right now on next year's budget. I would like to see more involvement, more assistance, more suggestions, more questions asked, and more solutions to be provided. We're currently working on the 2014 budget, and I would like these members to start attending the finance meeting. Next year, I am asking that the same members who voted no for this budget to become members of the Finance Committee and address the budget head-on. At this time, I open up the floor to any council members who would like to make a comment.
Comments from the council people as to your feelings on the 2013 budget?
Council President.
Councilwoman Cosby Hurley?
Yes. I want to just thank the committee for all their hard work and also thank the police and fire for making the necessary concessions to get us to be under the cap. In addition to that, we all have to make the sacrifice with reference to the surcharge or the revenue stream that we have starting in October, which is a $10 per month surcharge on single-family homes. We are looking at lots of different ways, especially in the negotiations area, to try and reduce, what the city has to pay out. But this committee with Chairman Brown, they worked very, very hard. And, I appreciate the service of all of the members of the committee. But at this point, we can't not support the budget. So those are my comments, and that, I'm going to support it, and I too will have to bear the burden of a tax increase. Again, the 2% cap. There are a lot of factors that affect what we can and cannot do when it comes to the budget process. So thank you, committee.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Mr. President, if I may,
Councilman Armstead?
I just want to say that I, too, support this budget. I do know that Councilman Brown, myself, and the other members of the Personal and Finance Committee worked diligently to put this budget forth. No one understands budgets and how these cities are run. I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I've been around for a long time. I do understand these budgets. I do understand we're in some very difficult times. No one wants to raise taxes. But unfortunately, this particular budget does raise taxes. We've had to do a few things with regards to charging residents for their garbage, which is not a very popular thing. But nonetheless, we had to do it to try to keep the city moving forward. All I ask is that any member of this governing body who decides to vote no on this particular budget, give us reason. If one of you votes no, or anybody votes no, I'm going to vote no, and I'm going to encourage anybody who votes after me to vote no, so that we can recess and go back in that back room and figure out what you think is necessary to further reduce the budget. Because the one thing that I think we all have a right to do is vote our conscience. But the one thing I don't think is fair is that we vote no because we think it's popular with the public or we're doing it for political reasons. So if you have a reason to vote no on this budget, just do so. Vote no and tell us why. Tell us what we can do to further reduce it. Don't just do it because you think it's popular with your constituents. Give us good reason. That concludes my statements, Mr.
Thank you,
President.
Councilman Armstead. Councilman Sadowski?
Being the third person on the committee, I have to give most of the credit to Peter and to Derek for the hard work they did. I mean, they were more experienced than me. I added what I had to add. But for those two, it was night after night of work. And no one, like they mentioned, no one likes to raise taxes. I live in town, my taxes are raised too. But that was the only thing we could do. We are hoping, like they said, we are starting on next year's budget already. We are hoping that we can learn from this year. For next year, maybe we can stabilize it a little. But my reason for this is we have to go on forward. We have to move forward with Linden. And like I said, I want to thank the other two people on the committee as well as the rest of the council people who I know will make the right decision for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Sadowski. Councilwoman Yamakaitis?
Thank you, Council President. I will be supporting this budget as well this evening. It was a tough budget to bring down to where we had to get below the cap. I give the Finance Committee all the credit in the world. This was the first time in many years that we've seen the budget being taken to community meetings. We've met many times this year regarding this budget. Nobody likes the tax increase. Unfortunately, with the 2% cap, we're forced every year to at least do that. Otherwise, we're further behind the ball the following year. So I urge all members on council to support this budget. I think we made strides this year in moving forward with our unions, and I think it's a good budget.
Thank you, Mrs. Yamakaitis. Councilman Colibus?
Thank you, Council President. I just want to commend the Finance Committee, Chairman Brown, Councilman Arson, and Councilman Sadowski on the hard work, and all the police and fire unions that helped the city and helped the committee and the council to come up with this budget. I think it's stressed enough. Nobody wants to raise taxes, but I want to reiterate what the mayor says all the time, is that sometimes it's not it's the easy decision, but you have to make the hard decisions. And I think tonight we're going to prove that. And again, I commend the committee. And again, it's a tough budget, but we have to move forward. That concludes my dissertation, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Colibus. Before I make my comments, I'd like to ask any other comments from Councilman
Yes,
Medina?
Council President.
Thank you.
First, I want to thank the committee, Finance Committee, and everyone that worked on this budget as well. I also want to thank our police and fire and all of our unions for working with the city. But I have to say, I do not support this budget. I'll give you a couple reasons why. Not only because in my 8th month into this job, me personally, just like a lot of my constituents, we're tired of the tax increases. Me personally, I'm tired of dumping $700 every year into my escrow account to cover the taxes of this city. I am going to vote my conscience, and that's what I'm doing. I'm voting no on this budget. We all have to share the burden, but I also want to, again, just thank everyone and give you my reason why I'm voting no on this budget. Thank you.
Councilman Kosinski, comments?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Last year, I sat up here and I voted no on the budget. My no vote was for a little thing I called return on investment for the 10th Ward residents. 10th Ward pays the highest taxes because our property value is higher. It's as simple as that. When I look at this, it's not an easy decision, whatever people want to say or think. I take every decision very seriously. And when residents come to me and say certain service problems, I mean, we can talk to a number of department heads who I bring these problems up to and say, listen, we need to get these corrected. These are things I take very seriously from the people in my ward. And it's not necessarily that, oh, I don't want, I voted for a lot of unpopular things. It's not anything about that. It's about the principle that if people come up to me and say, listen, I pay close to $10,000 in property taxes altogether, and something doesn't happen, or a service isn't provided, or I waited so long, or I did this, or I did that, I take it very seriously. And I commend the work of the committee. I commended the work last year. I gave my ideas, I gave my solutions, my thoughts, my ways to maybe raise revenue. My votes have indicated that. I voted for the one-arm garbage trucks, which hope to streamline things. I voted for, excuse me, I voted for the Southwood Ave projects. I think that's going to help us bring things in. I voted for different votes on changing the judge, for instance, things like that, which saved money. Saved money. It's a long-term idea that the people in the ward come to me and say, I can't afford the 10th Ward anymore. As much as I appreciate the idea that, this whole concept is here, it's the 10th Ward that I represent. And the 10th Ward came to me and said, we can't afford it anymore. That's probably the complaint I hear the most. And the thing that's saddest is, it's I can't afford it anymore, comma, I've lived here my whole life. I lived here my whole life, I can't afford it anymore. So I will vote my conscience. I hope everybody here votes their conscience. I don't question anybody's intent. I don't take this as an idea that I want to show everybody else, so I'm going to vote this way to prove something to somebody else. I vote my conscience. I think if you ask anyone up here, they will know I've never, ever, ever questioned their votes. Because I believe in their heart of hearts, they're doing what they think is right. Whether they agree, disagree, or what have you, I believe in what they think they're doing. So I won't be supporting this budget. Thank you.
Council President?
Chairman Brown?
Okay. Council President, I just want to make it clear to the public, is just with any other discussion, with this municipal budget, the Finance Committee was as open as possible. We took minutes, we invited people in, we asked for feedback. Last month and even last night, I asked, do any council people have any questions? Numerous times, and it's all on public record. Not one person asked a question. Yesterday I asked, towards the end of the meeting, I would like to know, do I have the support of members here on the budget? And the council president went down the line and asked each individual. The answer we got from the council members that are voting no is, I'll reserve my marks on the floor. The problem I have is that if there was an issue with this budget, whether it was 8 months ago, 7 months ago, 6 months ago, or even last night, it was never addressed to us, and this is the first time the council is hearing that these concerns from these members. To me, that is discouraging to the members who work hard, who try to create dialogue and communication, and for the first time to hear these concerns, to me is very disturbing. And this is not how government should be ran, is that if there's a problem, we come together, we talk about it, but to hear about these concerns the first time tonight is wrong, in my opinion. Now, I would like to also say, as far as paying the highest property taxes and services, Well, everybody here votes on ordinances and resolutions that benefit their wards. We got a report earlier this month from the engineering department that out of state aid since 1980, 28% of the state aid that received from for work that's being done in roads is going to the 9th Ward. Services are being provided in the 9th and 10th Ward like they are in any other ward. However, there are priorities. I heard earlier today that one council member has a problem with the police presence in their wards, and they want to address speeding. Well, the mayor can talk about this, where the finance committee had to meet with the police department because we have a crime issue where the police department is addressing, and that's where the priority is. So, again, it's very discouraging, and to me, it's disappointing. To me, that again, this is the first time we had to hear about this out here, and when given the opportunity to share their thoughts, they refused last night. Council President, that ends my remarks.
Council President, may I?
Thank you, Councilman Brown. Councilman Armstead.
I hate to beat a dead horse, but, you know, again, I'm very much aware. I hear the same complaints in my ward. I can't afford it anymore. And believe me, I know the people in this town are having a very difficult time paying their taxes. My father and mother, they still live in this town. My father's 83 years old. He was born in Linden, in this town. And he always says, son, I didn't sign up for this. He says, you're killing us here. We can't afford to stay here anymore. Had it not been for some prudent moves that my mother made years ago, they probably would have had to sell their homes and probably would be living in the senior citizen complex. So we all hear this from our constituents with regards to we can't afford to stay here anymore. I'm simply saying that it's August 20th, okay? What difference is it going to make if we spend a few more days not voting on this budget? Let's go, if you're going to vote no, and just say I'm voting no because my constituents can't take it, let's go in the back room, let's figure out what we can do to make it so they can take it. You know, it's very simple, it's cut and dry, okay? If you want to vote no, I'll be with you on it, I'll vote no with you. But let's go in the back room and figure out how we can further reduce this. Let's not just say my constituents can't take it anymore. Let's come up with some real answers to how we can really reduce this budget further. That's all I'm asking. And I would encourage anybody else to vote no, and let's go in the back room, and we got to stay here for another 2 hours or 24 hours. Let's stay here as long as we have to figure out what it's going to take to get it reduced to a level that you're comfortable with. So I want you to vote yes. I want you to tell me where we should cut. That's all I'm asking. With the kind of time that we put into this budget, I'm just asking my colleagues to come up with some solutions to how we can further reduce this budget. Thank you, Mr. President.
Council President.
Councilman Armstead, thank you. Chairman Brown.
Just one more remark I forgot to leave out is that when we talk about the budget, Councilman Armstead is talking about expenses. We also have to think about the revenue side. And again, the public should be aware is that the same members that are voting no are also members of the Revenue Committee. And we meet at least once a month. So at the same time, they had a direct impact on this budget where if they felt not comfortable, they had the perfect opportunity to be involved in the budget from the revenue standpoint to bring out their ideas, to bring out their suggestions. What I feel personally is that the buck is being passed. I have no problem taking responsibility for this budget, but for other members to pass the buck, especially when they're directly involved on the Revenue and Redevelopment Committee and not come up with any ideas and then hear tonight that they don't support the budget, it makes no sense. We're here to make decisions. We're here to find solutions, not to pass the buck. And I don't know what else to say. I mean, the easy way out is saying no. The hardest thing to do is sit up here and make choices and to find solutions. And I would like to hear from them what their solutions are. It's easy to say, no, I'm tired of this. It's harder to find solutions. And they had 8 months as members of the Revenue Committee to come up with solutions.
Council President, if you don't mind, I would like to respond.
Councilman Medina.
You know, yes, I am part of the Revenue Enhancement Meeting. I've actually been working really hard with the Revenue Enhancement Meeting, and we have a couple of things in the pipeline. But that's in the pipeline. It's not going to happen now, tomorrow, next month, or whatever. One of the examples is, we just submitted a project spec for solar panels in our landfill that's going to generate up to $300,000 for the city. We don't know if we are approved or selected for the project, but that's one of the examples. You know, I know Councilman Brown and Councilman Armstead are going to just continue going back and forth. And yes, the buck is being passed. It's being passed to the homeowners. It's been going on, I think, for 7 years, if I'm not mistaken. So the people deserve a break. People deserve a break, and that's what I'm representing the people from the Ninth Ward, and they're tired. You go down Orchard Terrace, DeWitt, Summit, any of the side streets, there's more than 2 to 3 homes on every single street. People are bailing out of Linden. They cannot afford to live here anymore. I wasn't here in the past. Again, I've been here 8 months. I'm just trying to wrap my whole head around this. Been over 5 years, every single year, taxes keep on going up. I don't have any suggestions. I don't know where to find $5 million. I don't. But I consciously, wholeheartedly, I cannot support a budget with a tax increase. The people are tired. I'm personally tired of it. And that's how I'm voting. That's why I can't support this budget. So, thank you.
Councilman Yamakaitis. Councilwoman.
Mr. President, we have a fiduciary duty to pass a budget. My residents and all the residents in this city can't afford it. But we have to ask ourselves, by not passing it, which firehouse do you want to close? How many police do you want to lay off? Do you want your garbage service like it is? We need to pass this budget and move on. We need to bring in revenues from other sources to balance this budget. I mean, the city, I think, as I mentioned before, is taking a turn in the proper direction. We need to bring in ratables. That's the only thing that's going to balance our budget, ratables. Not by saying no to a budget. We have a fiduciary duty to pass this budget on time, and I urge the members of this council to pass it. The Finance Committee put in a lot of time this year, more so than any other year I've ever seen. And no one can afford it, but we have to do it. We need to keep services. I get calls every day. We need to have police in the area. We need the fire department. This is what your tax dollars is paying for. So I urge all the members to please pass this.
I'd like to ask the treasurer, Mrs. Zach, what would the ramifications be if the budget were not passed tonight?
Council President, the city would have to shut down if the budget does not pass tonight.
That's something that's not acceptable, and we're required by the law to pass a budget. And this,
Council President? I'm sorry, Council. Alexis, can you explain a little bit more what you mean by the city having to shut down?
The budget is anticipated to be passed this evening, which would allow us to have the appropriations to meet our obligations. If the council does not pass a budget, we have no authorization for expenditures. Therefore, we have no authorization to pay employees or pay our expenses. We would default on debt service. Debt service payments will have to be paid by the end of the month, by September 1st. There's certain cash flow obligations the city's responsible for. We won't have a mechanism in place for that if this budget fails this evening. And there is no temporary budget on the agenda for this evening.
Now, Council President, I'm sorry.
Councilman Brown?
Well, and Ms. Sack hits the nail on the head, is that we don't have, temporary budget or
The temporary budget.
a temporary budget. What's disturbing is that, again, if we would have known that there were members that are voting no for this, we would have made a temporary budget to continue this dialogue. But because this is the first time tonight that we're hearing about this, is that we don't have a temporary budget on hand right now. And essentially, if this budget fails, the city would be shut down. We were given no notice about this prior to today.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Council President. I know there's been a lot said about this budget, and I don't know if the people realize that under our form of government, the mayor does not propose a budget, I can't vote on a budget, and I can't even veto the budget. So if I was a smart politician, I'd sit back and not get involved. But I think I have an obligation to the voters of Linden to let them know that I am in support of this budget. Yes, nobody likes to raise taxes, but we need to provide the essential services necessary to run this city, and we were in serious trouble 3 or 4 months ago until we negotiated with the police and fire unions to have concessions so that we could get through 2013 and not have the same issues impact us in 2014. These are hard decisions to make. They're not popular decisions to make, but they're decisions that have to be made in the best interest of the city of Linden and the residents. Therefore, I'm going on record in support of this budget.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a comment for the public at home watching this. Out of the council people here, I probably pay probably the highest property taxes at the dais. I've been in town for 62 years. I've lived here. My family was here before that. I'm retired. I'm on a fixed income. I can't afford this tax increase. I ran on the premise that I wouldn't raise taxes. The reality of the situation is the town will close. No police, no fire, will become a Detroit, worse than Detroit. I do not want to raise the taxes. This is the last thing I want to do. Things will be better in a few years. We must hang on. You have to make the tough decisions. This is the last thing I want to do, is to tax myself out of my income. I will support the budget, though, because I'm not concerned with re-election. I'm concerned with doing the right thing for the public. Thank you for listening to me. Mr. Clerk?
We need a motion, sir.
I need a motion to adopt the budget.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to table this ordinance and take a recess so we can go further discuss it. Look for a second.
Mr. President, the discussion on the budget, unless it deals with a specific personnel matter, would be a matter for public out here, not in private.
Would you like to discuss it on the floor?
I just want to hear some suggestions coming in at 9 and 10. Not asking for a lot.
Mr. Council President?
Yes.
I hate to do this, but I mean, last year I did make a suggestion that right now that came up about advertising on public vehicles, for instance. It wasn't taken up last year. It wasn't taken up again this year. I individually went through our grantsman and had him do a white paper, and he found that it could raise up to $1 million. I mean, I'm not saying that's the answer, but I mean, it was suggested. There were things that were suggested. And this thought that, you know, there's no temporary budget, I mean, the CFO has known my intention for some time. I've sat in her office quite a number of times looking over the budget and talking to her with different things. So this whole idea that this is a, you know, kind of a blindsiding motion isn't true. I mean, I always reserve my right to vote on the floor. We've done it with issues in the past when I've been asked, how are you going to vote tomorrow? I'll be asked, how are you going to vote tomorrow? And I'll say, I'll reserve my right to vote on the floor. You know, I don't have to telegraph my votes to everybody. What if I change my mind overnight? You know, so with all due respect, I mean, I think there are, you know, ideas that were there that weren't capitalized on. That's where I'm coming from this. And the fact that, you know, it's you know, I can see the problems, I can see the anger, I can see the ideas, but it is the idea that there was just no solutions. Our Councilman Medina and myself were just sitting around. It's not true. But that concludes my comment. Thank you.
Councilman Brown?
Yeah. Councilman, or Adam, your idea of advertising garbage trucks, right? You're absolutely right. You did bring that up last year. And just like I bring up ideas and every other council here, it's your job to take the ball and run with it. And as far as I'm concerned, is that if you're telling me that you brought up an idea last year, nothing was done with that, you have every right to follow up and run with it, just like every other council person here does that. Now, advertising on garbage trucks is not going to reduce the budget where it needed to be. First, we were overcapped by 5.2. What I'm hearing from you is that you don't want any tax increase. So that means that we need to cut another, I think, what, about $2 million, Alexis, or so, to just stay even from last year. So the idea of advertising garbage trucks is not going to get this budget to where you need it to be. Now, furthermore, telling the treasurer where you stand. The treasurer doesn't vote on the budget. The members here vote on the budget. And again, it's a matter of working together and giving us the respect where it's not a matter of trying to twist your arm and saying you need to vote for this. It's a matter of getting your input so that you feel comfortable with it, that you can go back to your residents and explain it and feel comfortable with it, and we can move the city forward. To simply say, I reserve my right to express it out on the floor and refuse to have that dialogue and that respect with the rest of us
My
here,
vote.
to me, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Is wrong. I don't think we're asking too much where we say, give us a heads up or work with us here. With all due respect, me and the mayor were battling each other for the last 2 years, but you know what? We were in a budget crisis, and we talk on the phone almost every day about this budget. I get suggestions from him, he gives it to me, and I'm not saying we're the best of pals, but nevertheless, we have that respect where we give each other a heads up, and we go over things. For you not to do that with any member of council here, I'm sorry, is wrong. You have my phone number. I asked you yesterday for your input, and you refused to give it.
Council President, I think we should have a vote. I think
Mayor, I have a
everybody's
comment.
discussed it.
I'm pretty unorthodox. I shop at Pathmark. I have people come up to me, they recognize me, they're anonymous, I'm not sure who they are. They give me advice, so when I have an opportunity to speak to somebody, I bounce off the problems. I tell them what my concerns are. I've been talking to as many people as I can. I live in the 10th Ward. I went to my neighbors. What should I do? What would you do? And Pathmark, I shop there. I go to Walgreens. I meet people there. They come up to me speaking. I don't know who they are. I'm at Wood Avenue shopping, at gas stations. I meet people from all over the town. And somebody engages me, that's it. I make them pay the price for engaging me by asking them so many questions, getting information. And the bottom line I've got, I live in the 10th Ward, they do not want the city to shut down. They want stabilization. They want things to continue the way they are. They want us to bring more revenue in. It's an emergency situation, and we cannot lose the value of our homes by not having this budget. So even though I don't want to do it, it's my obligation to the town where I'm going to live the rest of my life to vote for something and continue on working with the council and with the budget committee next year and keep cutting. We have negotiations coming up. Things are going to change. We have to hold on for a couple years. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. The mayor has a lot of revenue projects on board. This is unfortunate we have to raise these taxes, but it must be done. I conclude my remarks.
Council President, make a motion for the final adoption of the 2013 budget as amended and ask for a second.
Just Council President, just a point of order. Councilman Armstead had made a motion, so it wasn't second, but he has to either, if there's no second, the motion dies, or he's withdrawing the motion. So there had been some discussion.
You said I can withdraw the motion?
Withdraw the motion would be recommended.
My motion was to basically table the ordinance and go into a recess to discuss it further, but you're telling me that we couldn't do that, right?
You were told you couldn't do it in an executive session, correct?
Well, I guess I have to withdraw that motion then.
So then I'll ask for a motion.
Council President, make a motion for the final adoption of the 2013 budget as amended and ask for a second.
I'll second it.
Mr. Kaczynski.
No.
Medina.
No.
Yemekaitis.
Yes.
Sadowski.
Yes.
Crosby Hurling.
Yes.
Armstead.
I can qualify my vote again, can I?
Yes.
Like I said before, I'm prepared to vote no. If I thought that I could get 1, 2, 3 more votes to go no, I would shut the city down. because I'm confident that our police and our fire and our good city employees would come to work, and they would look at me and say, Armstead, we know you're going to straighten this mess out. But I'm not going to do that this evening because I know we have to move forward with this city. But I do resent the fact that members on this governing body would vote no to a budget and would not offer any alternatives for further reductions. So I'm going to vote yes for the budget, and that concludes my report, my statements.
Brown?
Yes.
Kalbus?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Mr. Moore, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
I'd like to move into ordinances from July 16th, 2013 meeting. Public meeting was held on ordinance 57-20. The police table of organization, 5721, the fire department asked to table.
Council President, make a motion to carry over ordinance 57-20 and ask for a second.
I'll second that.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yamakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Kalbus?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. Ordinance on hearing. Ordinance on hearing, this is the date and time established for the public hearing for ordinance on hearing. Ordinance 5737.
An ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 31 zoning to implement the city's master plan land use element amendment.
Has the ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Have we received any written comment?
Yes, sir. We have a letter from the Linden, City of Linden Planning Board. Ladies and gentlemen, the Linden Planning Board at its August 13th meeting reviewed the above referenced ordinance, which was passed by the City Council on July 16th, and the Planning Board recommended that City Council adopt said ordinance at its August 20th meeting after finding that the ordinance is consistent with the master plan of the City of Linden. Very truly yours, Joseph J. LaPlaca, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Does anyone in the audience who wishes to discuss the ordinance? Would you come up, sir? State your name and address for the clerk. 3 minutes.
Mr. Roman, Summit Street. Which one is this? Is this to demolishing of houses, or is this that tenant
This is
transit village thing?
5737.
No, I understand that, but it's very vague, and it's...
I could answer that, Council President.
Mr. Mayor?
What that is the General Motors property, the two parking lots fronting Route 1 and 9 between Pleasant Street and the railroad trestle. The ordinance was amended for the master plan because there's going to be a Wawa put there, and they want to pump gas, and the ordinance was modified to allow them to have gas pumps on that property, and it was also modified to not have the 55 and older housing that was originally intended further down on the parking lot because there's no market for that type of building anymore.
Okay, my question, you said the train trestle, is that the tracks beyond the General Motors property or beside it, between the factory?
That's the one that goes over the top of Route 1 and 9.
Oh, okay, thank you.
A little parliamentary problem here. We have to go back.
Jim, Council President, let's complete this one, and then we'll do that.
I'm sorry. Okay. Anyone in the audience wish to make a comment on 5737? If not, I'll ask for a motion, please.
Council President, I ask the ordinance be closed, and, I'm sorry, the hearing be closed and ordinance adopted, and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yamakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Kalbus?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. When we When I read to table the 20 and 21, the clerk indicated to me that Mr. Brown omitted 5721. Mr. Brown, could you move that, please?
Yes, I make a motion to continue to hold ordinance 57-21, and I ask for a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski.
Yes.
Medina.
Yes.
Yemakaitis.
Yes.
Sadowski.
Yes.
Crosby Hurling.
Yes.
Armstead.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Colbus.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
5738.
An ordinance to amend an ordinance entitled, an ordinance establishing a schedule of titles, salary ranges, and regulations for maintaining the classification and salary standardization plan of all employees of the City of Linden, passed August 15, 1995, and approved August 16, 1995, Schedule 4-HH.
Mr. Clerk, has the ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Have we received any written communication?
No, sir.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this? Ask for a motion, please.
Mr. President, I move that the hearing be closed and ordinance 5738 be adopted and request a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski.
Yes.
Medina.
Yes.
Yemakaitis.
Yes.
Sadowski.
Yes.
Crosby Hurling.
Yes.
Armstead.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Colbus.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes. 5739.
An ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 7, Traffic, shall be amended as follows. Section 7-12, Parking Time Limited, delete from 7-12.2B, Time Limited Meter Parking, Section 2-5 in its entirety. Add 7-12.2B, Time Limited Parking. That's it.
Thank you. Has the ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Have we received any written communication?
No, sir.
Does anyone in the audience wish to discuss this? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion, please.
Council President, I ask the hearing be closed and ordinance 57-39 be passed and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski.
Yes.
Medina.
Yes.
Yemakaitis.
Yes.
Sadowski.
Yes.
Crosby Hurling.
Yes.
Armstead.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Colbus.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes. Mr. Clerk, 5740.
An ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 10, Building and Housing as follows. Delete Chapter 10, Building and Housing, Section 10-19, Reserved. Add Chapter 10, Building and Housing, Section 10-19, Abandoned Residential Property Registration.
Has the ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Have we received any written communication?
No, sir.
Does anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this? Seeing none, I ask for a motion.
Mr. President, I ask that hearing
Excuse me, we have a comment from the public, please. Mr. Roman, address, please, and your name for the clerk.
Oh, yes, I'd like more information. What properties are these? Abandoned homes around Linden?
Mr. Roman, what this ordinance would require is that any houses, any properties that are abandoned in foreclosure, unlived, that the mortgage company or the owner of title has to register it with the city so that the city has a record of who owns the properties for purposes of notification to
them.
upkeep the property, et cetera, and take any action regarding to the property.
Okay.
Right
But-
now, we have no way of knowing if someone has gone into foreclosure and abandoned a house, who has control of the house.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public wish to make comment? Motion, please.
Mr. President, I ask that hearing on ordinance 5740 be closed and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski.
Yes.
Medina.
Yes.
Yemakaitis.
Yes.
Sadowski.
Yes.
Crosby Hurling.
Yes.
Armstead.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Colbus.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes. 5741, please.
An ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 7, Traffic as follows. Add to 7-12.1, 2-hour parking Morningside Avenue and Summit Terrace, both sides, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Delete from 7-15.1D, parking decals, Summit Terrace East Side, from a point 45 feet northwest of West St. George's Avenue to a point 340 feet north of West St. George's Avenue. Add to 7-15.1D, teacher permit parking, Summit Terrace East Side, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday.
Mr. Clerk, has the ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Have we received any written communication?
No, sir.
Is there anybody in the audience wishes to speak on this? Motion, please.
Council President, I ask the hearing be closed and ordinance 57-41 be adopted and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
No.
Cosby Hurling?
No.
Armstead?
No.
Brown?
No.
Colibus?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
No. 5742.
The ordinance is defeated.
5742.
Yes.
Bond ordinance amending bond ordinance number 55-12, adopted March 15, 2011.
Has the ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Have we received any written communication?
No, sir.
Does anyone wishes to be heard on the ordinance? Motion, please.
Yes, Council President. I ask that ordinance 5742 move forward and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
No.
Colibus?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 5743.
Bond ordinance authorizing the acquisition of firefighting equipment and appropriating $44,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $41,800 in bonds or notes to finance part of the cost thereof.
Has the ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Have we received any written communication?
No, sir.
Is there anyone in the audience wishes to be heard? Motion, please.
I ask that the hearing on ordinance 5743 be closed and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Colibus?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 5744.
Bond ordinance authorizing the demolition of unsafe buildings for the engineering department, appropriating $275,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $261,250 in bonds or notes to finance part of the cost thereof.
Has the ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Has any written communication been received?
Yes, sir. From
The-
Fred Copey. Please consider the following, as I will not be able to attend the meeting. I am opposed to the city swiping the credit card one more time at the expense of the taxpayers as a remedy for this situation. One, there must be a better way to resolve this without spending money you are going to ultimately have to ask the taxpayers to pay. Two, what happened with the contractor who applied for a variance to develop this property? Three, I suggest you ask the attorney about you can do to put pressure on the lien holder rather than creating documents to issue more debt. Four, explore all incentive possibilities to try and get a contractor to develop the property. Many thanks for your consideration. Fred Copney, 919 South Park Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Anyone in the audience wishes to be heard on this ordinance? Please come up, state your name and address, please.
Mr. Roman, Summit Street. Clarification on these properties?
Mrs. Sack?
For George.
George? Mr. Verchik?
Are these abandoned buildings around that nobody owns, or?
I'll leave that to the attorney, but these are buildings that council decided that are unsafe, contamination, and they want to get them demolished, cleaned up, and the lien will be put on the property.
On the property owners?
On the property.
On the property. So then you don't know who actually owns it? You can just attach this to the properties?
No, there is all property is owned by someone, there's a record
I
of
understand
title.
that. Well, why should the city?
These properties have been not upkept by their owners. The Board of Health went through a hearing. There was orders given to the owners to rectify the problems by construction code and health. They have not done those orders, so under the law, there's a hearing held, at which time they are ordered to either demolish or improve the buildings, and if they do not do so, that the city will then take such action to demolish and remediate the problem and place a lien on the property, which becomes taxes, additional taxes on the property.
So you're telling me that you're hoping to recoup what you're going to demolition this property for? Is that what you're telling
Well,
me?
it becomes a lien on, it's the same as any other tax lien, it becomes a lien on the property.
Now, a lien on the property for the money you spend for the
Correct.
demolish?
Correct.
Mr. Roman, if I may?
I'm going to ask the council people to hold their comments until you're done with your questions.
Well, go ahead.
I'm asking them to hold their comments until you're done. Do you have any
Oh,
further
no,
questions?
I just, are these
Do you-
industrial properties or are they residential?
Does that conclude your remarks?
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Yamakaitis?
One of these properties is in my ward. It's been abandoned for 20 years, and it's been nothing but a blight to the neighborhood. It's been bringing down the property values. It's been declared a hazard by our construction code department, our fire department. And one thing we have to take into consideration is the proximity. This isn't in the middle of an industrial area where you could say, it's abandoned, well, play your cards and see if we could wait. There's homes across the street, right next door, right behind, and we're seeing some of the cinder blocks disintegrate. It's a hazard, and it needs to be addressed.
Yeah, well, like you said, when you read these things, it's kind of vague.
Sir, your 3 minutes are up. We're answering your
Thank you.
questions.
I know the property now, thank you.
Mr. Brown, you have comment? No? Thank you.
Mr. President?
Would you come up, Mrs. Malik, please?
Mrs. Yamakaitis, you just brought up an interesting point. You said that this one particular property has been abandoned for about 20 years. Why hasn't something been done 19 years ago? And I'm not sure about some of these other abandoned properties. Why have we been so delinquent in doing something?
Ms. Malik, as was read in the letter, there were, with the economy going bust, they were going to put up homes there, but when the economy went bust, it just got abandoned and nobody took care of it. Nobody wants to really, right now with the market the way it is, we're hoping to see.
But 20 years, I mean,
Yeah, Ms.
It was-
Malik-
we had
take
a-
some action.
Yeah, Ms. Malik, there's a time and a due process. You simply can't, in 1 year, go out and do it. The property takes time to deteriorate until it gets to the point that construction code and the health department find it to be a health hazard. Property owners are certainly allowed. There's nothing that says they can't keep a building that's empty as long as they maintain it. The fact is that over a number of years, these properties were then not maintained for whatever reason, whether the owners have a title issue or an estate issue or other money issues. The city took the procedures. Obviously, we had to comply with due process and make sure that they had a proper hearing. If they had a chance to remediate the problem, they didn't do that. And only as a last resort does the city have to take the step of saying we will then have to go in and tear down the building to protect the safety, health, and welfare of the rest of the citizens of the city.
one last question. Do we have like a watchdog that is, or someone that is looking at a lot of these properties that are in a state of disrepair that, some timeline or time element is put on to start taking some action? I know that you just said that there's certain procedures you have to follow, but is someone really stepping up and watching these properties? That's all I want to know.
Council President, can I answer that?
Mr. Mayor, please.
We are aware of the abandoned buildings in the city of Linden. Another one is on West Elizabeth Avenue, the old United Lacquer building. That we've been trying to knock down for years, but it is an environmental hazard, and we got to tread lightly, otherwise we're going to own that environmental hazard. The other building that we're talking about with this appropriation is actually a city building right next door on Knopf Street, where the old juvenile and the visiting and the Board of Health used to be. We moved them out about a year and a half ago because that building is falling down and it wouldn't be worth throwing good money after bad. So they have a new home, that building is vacant, and we're going to knock that down and decide what we're going to do with that empty property.
All right, thank you.
Councilman Brown, did you wish to make a comment?
Yeah, I'll keep it real short. In regards to this is a last resort. I just want residents to know that we're exhausting every option as far as, I know the attorney and the tax collector has reached out to, in particular, the property owner in the 8th Ward to see what are they doing to get this property fixed up, and create this type of dialogue. This is a last resort. I want everyone to make sure, because to Michelle's credit, this is a huge health hazard in her area. She's taking pictures. If anyone knows the building, they know that this is falling apart, and the risk of someone getting hurt there or from a health perspective outweighs us really knocking this down.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Motion, please.
Council President, I ask that the ordinance or the hearing be closed and ordinance 57-44 be closed and adopted, and seek a second.
Second.
Yes. Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Colbus?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 5745, Mr. Clerk.
Bond ordinance authorizing various improvements in connection with Transit Village for the Engineering Department, appropriating $1,046,000 and authorizing the issuance of $143,450 in bonds or notes to finance part of the cost.
Has the ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Have we received any written communication?
No, sir.
Does anyone in the audience wishes to be heard on the ordinance? Please come up, sir.
Can I get clarification on this one? I mean, what's the general cost of this money for? Just to do an engineer study on what? The parking?
Mr. Mayor?
What this is the beautification program that we received a grant from the state of New Jersey for Transit Village. We received over $1 million, and we can only use that money to beautify the area around the train station. We have a project team that meets regularly, and we're deciding how to best spend that money for the beautification process. If you're looking now at our train trestle, it's being painted as we speak. You're going to also see from Kane College, and it was thanks to Councilman Medina, who made contacts from art fraternity in Kane College, and they're going to be painting murals on the walls of the trestle. But the project team is going to start working out north and south on Wood Avenue to spend the money for beautification as far as it takes us.
Okay.
And again, it's a grant, it's not city money.
Okay, thank you.
Motion, please.
Council President, make a motion for ordinance 57-45 and ask for a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Colbus?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. Mr. Clerk, 5746, please.
An ordinance to establish a cap bank for calendar year 2013.
Has this ordinance been properly published and posted?
Yes, sir.
Have we received any written communication?
No, sir.
Does anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this ordinance? Motion, please.
Council President, I make a motion for ordinance 57-46 and ask for a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Colbus?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. I'd like to move into consent agenda, please. All items listed with asterisk are considered to be routine by the City Council and be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence of agendas. We have items 1 through 5. Does anyone wish to remove an item in the audience? On my right. In the center. On my left. Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. President, I move for approval of consent agenda items 1 through 5 and request a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Wait, that was Councilman Brown. He said yes.
I'm sorry?
He said yes. I'm going to vote yes with the exception of number 3.
That's no.
No for number 3.
Brown? I'm straight. I'm saying Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Colbus?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. I'd like to move into committee reports and comments from members of the governing body. Mr. Colibus, you have a report for us?
I have a brief report, Council President. I just want to say, any First Ward resident has any question or concern, you can reach me at 908-925-5568. And I believe tree requests, or Mr. Tandler, are due very soon for planting. So if you have a request to have a tree planted in front of your property, please give me a call back again at 925-5568. This completes my report, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Brown.
Thank you, Council President. Approval is requested for the following finance actions. The payment of bills totaling $1,990,714.42. The bills have been signed by the Mayor, Council President, and the Finance Chairman, and a detailed check register and vouchers are on file in the Clerk's office. I move for approval and ask for a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Colbus?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Okay. And just real quick in regards to my ward, George, if you could just explain what's going on East Henry, Washington, and East Elm in regards to street paving?
All 3 streets mentioned were part of our capital budget. We had a hold off on East Elm Street since the water company is putting 4,000 feet of water main from Wood Avenue to Bower Street. Henry and Washington are ready to go. We're waiting for the contractor to let us know whether he's coming in tomorrow or not. We hope he is. We want to try to get those done before school starts. And then there's a couple other projects along with these 2, but they're in the 5th Ward.
You can talk about it, George.
Thank you, George. Also want to thank Public Works. We do have a representative here. They were through our ward. They cut down trees, trimmed trees. I think they did a good job. They've been very responsive, but for residents who still feel a tree needs to be trimmed or cut, please feel free to contact me through my cell phone or through email, and I'll get the word out to Public Works. Also, in the 3rd Ward, I got word yesterday that the equipment for Larson Park has finally come in, but there's no word on when that stuff will be installed. So when I get word of that, I will surely let residents know. And I want to also thank the police department because there has been some activity between my ward and Derek's ward, which the police have been very active in trying to stop. We are short manpower in the police department, but yet the efforts of the police department, if anyone's reading the newspaper, has been tremendous. I think really my hats go off to them working with less cops, but yet they really are making an impact in mine, Derek's, and Rashana's ward. End of report.
Thank you, Councilman Brown. Councilman Armstead?
Yes, Mr. President, I have the following reports. With regards to activity in the 4th Ward, I just want to remind everybody that our deadline for tree planting is approaching. If you're interested in having a shade tree planted at your property, please give me a call. I would prefer my cell phone, 908-377-6384. And if the cell phone is busy or you can't get through, please don't hesitate to text. It's probably the most effective way to get a message through. Also, the Department of DPW has informed me that they were going to be arriving in the 4th Ward during the month of August. I did see some activity this week, so they have arrived. If you have a tree that needs trimming, please contact me so that I may add you to the list. On Saturday, August 24th, Morning Star Church will be giving out school supplies from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. or until supplies last. With school approaching, please come out and get your free school supplies. Also on Saturday, August 24th, the Little Lamb Daycare will be having a community event from 12 o'clock p.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. There will be food, fun, a petting zoo, basketball tournament, and a host of other activities. All are invited to attend. It will be at the Dr. King Park, and again, that will be Saturday, August 24th, from 12 o'clock p.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. I have the following reports. The following licenses, permits, and transcripts were issued during the city clerk's office during the month of July 2013. The fees received are as followed. There were 98 birth and death and marriage transcripts for $1,365. There were 16 marriage and civil union licenses for $48 for the city's revenue and $400 for the state's revenue. There were 12 miscellaneous revenues for $128.91. There was one bingo and raffle license for $750. There was 173 EDRS vital statistics for $2,430. There were 6 borough permit fees for $30 for a total of $5,151.91, with $400 of that total going to the state. The city's clerk's licensing division is submitting this monthly report for the month of July 2013. The office issued 89 dog licenses and 97 miscellaneous licenses and collected $3,638. I don't have the revenue report for the parking meters, and I hope to have that for you next month, and that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Armstead. Councilwoman Rashana Cosby-Hurley.
Thank you, Council President. I have quite a few things that I want to mention tonight. There are a lot of events going on around town this weekend. I want to mention a couple that were brought to my attention and repeat a couple that we've already heard. On Saturday, I know that a lot of us remember Janie Miles from, I want to say she's from the 10th Ward. She's a survivor of bladder cancer, and this is the 3rd annual Bladder Cancer 5K Walk. It's going to be held this Saturday at Wilson Park. It's 8 o'clock a.m., and it's going to be 9 o'clock this Saturday. Okay. She's from the 9th Ward, my apologies. And she's running the event to raise awareness for bladder cancer. So if anyone is interested in attending and doing the 5K walk, you can contact her at 908-644-0438 or email JIJANE@hotmail. There's a $10 registration, which includes the T-shirt. The backpack supply giveaway again Saturday at 1009 Chandler Avenue is sponsored by the Morningstar Community Development Urban Renewal Corporation. If you go to Google it, you'll actually see there's an online supply request. So you can actually make a request on the internet. There's another back-to-school supply this month, which is going to be August 31st, and that's going to be at the 8th Ward Community Center, sponsored by Councilwoman Yamakaitis. The Family Community Development Corporation, as well as myself, will be there to do, our part and do what we can for the children that may or may not have gotten supplies already. School's going to reopen September 4th, and we had the 5th and 8th Ward Community Picnic, and I want to congratulate the 8th Ward Bombers. They bombed us in the kickball game, and they were victorious. So again, Michelle, you and your team, congratulations. I want to thank our sponsors and those people who had made contributions. We want to thank Linden Recreation for use of the grill and the equipment. We also want to thank Transportation and Parking because this annual community event was set aside this year for the dedication of former St. Mark's Park to the late Dorothy Ford. And I'm sure Councilwoman Yamakaitis will mention that and have a few words. We're going to thank Sam's Club, the FMBA Local 234, Linden Housing Authority, El Gucho, which is the charcoal company on Elizabeth Avenue. We're going to thank Linden Communities in Cooperation, housed at the Linden Multipurpose Center, and See and Learn, the Literacy Foundation, because she was there and she gave out free books to anybody who wanted one. And, you know, literacy matters here in Linden. A special thanks to our volunteers, the people who cooked and came and cleaned up and everything else. We appreciate you. From the 5th Ward, I do have a short list of tree requests, and the deadline is going to be the 27th for me, so I can make sure I get Mr. Tanzel and his team everything that they need by our deadline. If you have not requested a tree, you can email it to me at rcosbyhurling@linden-nj.org, or you can call me. If I'm not available, just please leave the information on the voicemail, 908-477-4120. The Hagel Avenue light has been installed. I want to thank the Construction Code Committee for putting that request on so that we have a little bit more light in that area. We want to say to Mr. Vendetto out loud and to the public, those of you who work in public works, specifically on the project that was on Grant Street, the neighbors are thankful and they appreciate what was done, and it was done so swiftly. So thank you all for that. Before I finish, we are going to have, and the mayor hopefully will give more details, community meetings, at least 2 this year, and it's going to be specifically for anyone who needs information or assistance with the Affordable Care Act. There's a website if you want the information. Congressman Payne actually has a newsletter, and I have the information. If you wanted to get information, there's a website you can go to and enroll. I'll be glad to forward that to you because I didn't print it out. The Affordable Care Act is important. If you need insurance, you should, really look into attending one of the meetings. I know that one is scheduled for September 11th, and the mayor will give more information about the dates. And when it's firmed up, we'll pass that information along. Finally, September to Remember is September 28th this year. Rain date is Sunday the 29th. And the council members were invited to help raise funds for the Cultural Committee as well as the PBA organization. So if you want to take a shot at me, I'll be in the dunk tank for an hour. So come out and help raise money for a good cause. You're coming, right? So come out. It's a good time. The president of the Cultural Committee and the members of the committee have been working really, really hard this year to put on a good show. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the event this year and seeing who can take the best shot. And before I close, I want to wish my daughter happy birthday. Today's her birthday. Happy birthday, Cece. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Sadowski.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening. Just a couple of things real quickly. With the summer coming to the end, if you noticed, there are different people walking around the streets. Actually, they're scamming. Please be careful. Don't let anyone in your house. Don't let them check your water and so on and so forth, because they're real quick, and this is the time they're out there. And like I said, we've seen them. With the summer coming to the end, don't forget the Seniors Men's Club will have its first meeting the first Tuesday after Labor Day. If you have never been there, please come down, Gregorio Center. It's a good time, and you're amongst friends. The Trumley Point Seniors Club will have their first meeting the first Monday after Labor Day. These are get-togethers. Sometimes there's food, but you meet the people from your neighborhood or from the town. You have the same interests, and you talk. The people like it. So please think about joining this coming fall. Excuse me. We've had a couple of meetings with the residents of Emma Place and Madison Avenue concerning the buyout by the state. It's the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Program. It's the Blue Acres Program to buy your home. This is a serious decision. Like I said, we've had a couple of meetings already. I've been getting calls from people, they don't know what to do. You have time, but let me just give you the number that the department gave us. If you have any really questions, please call Cindy Rendazzo. She's at 609-633-7700. If you don't remember it, of course, give me a call at my home, 862-0749, and I will give you that number. But this is a serious decision. You do have time, so please think carefully about it. With the school opening pretty soon, please watch for the children with the bicycles, and they'll be coming from soccer and football practices and so on. Please be careful of them. There was mention already about the dunking tank. I volunteered after Mrs. Cosby, and I'm sure I won't even get a chance in there because they won't let her out. So if you think it, please come. We'll say more about it next meeting. Let me see. We have been taking people's, asking for trees and so on for the last, the summer I've been taking calls. In fact, I got a call from a woman who ordered 4 trees and now she said she can't have them. So please, they take care of us. So please, if you have them, give that. Also about any kind of tree trimming and sidewalks and so on, please give me a call. We have a running commentary with the DPW, and they do a very, very good job. One other thing, if anyone is interested, in beginning of October, there is this is the Pulaski Day Parade in New York City. St. Teresa's has a Pulaski Day Parade committee, and if anyone is interested, please give me a call. We can set you up going to New York, or we have a dinner coming up. I think it's September 7th, right? Mm-hmm. September 7th. If anyone is interested, please give me a call. It's a fun time. It's a fun night out. That's about all I have, but if anyone has any questions about that, please give me a call at home, and I will answer them. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Sadowski. Councilman Yamamoto, before you give your report, I'd like to thank you for filling in for me last month as President Pro Tem.
You're welcome. Okay, I just want to piggyback on Mr. Sadowski's report on the Pulaski Parade Committee. This year's marshal from Linden will be Chris Lukenda from our fire department. So, as you saw, the fire department is very good to the city of Linden, and we ask you to please support our marshal, Chris Lukenda. Okay, for the Personnel Committee, I just want to take this moment. So many people like to come up here and beat them up month after month, but our labor attorney, Alan Roth, he held a meeting with the Personnel Committee and the department heads this month, and I think it was a very productive meeting regarding some of the new issues with the FMLAs, and you'll hear a lot of them on the report tonight. So I just want to take the opportunity to say thank you to him for hosting that for us. Approval is requested for the following personnel actions. Number 1, in the fire department, the acceptance of the SAFER grant in the aggregate amount of $2,400,000 for the period of October 2013 through October 2015 for the hiring of 12 firefighters. Number 2, in the fire department, the granting of permission for the department to begin background checks, physical and psychological examinations for 12 firefighter candidates pursuant to the SAFER grant. Number 3, in the fire department, the granting of the FMLA/NJFLA leave to employee number 100118 for the period August 1st, 2013 through October 31st, 2013. Number 4, in the fire department, the granting of FMLA/NJFLA leave to employee number 107073, for the period August 1st, 2013 through October 31st, 2013. Number 5, in the Fire Department, the granting of the FMLA/NJFLA leave to employee number 295 for the period July 26, 2013 through August 22, 2013. Number 6, in the Division of Personnel, the acceptance of the policy standardizing the scheduling of vacations for city employees. Number 7, on the Shade Tree Commission, the council's approval to increase the secretary to the board's maximum salary to $5,000. The minimum salary is to remain the same. Number 8, in the Office of the Clerk, the granting of the unpaid FMLA/NJFLA leave of absence to employee number 107371 from August 21st, 2013 through September 29th, 2013. Number 9, in the Police Department, the granting of an unpaid leave of absence to employee number 236 from June 13, 2013 through July 31st, 2013. Number 10, in the Police Department, the acceptance of the resignation of William McNair as a per diem telecommunicator/911 dispatch effective October 5th, 2013. Number 11, in the Department of Public Property and Community Services, the granting of paid FMLA leave of absence to employee number 133 from July 12, 2013 through August 23, 2013. Number 12, in the Department of Public Property Community Services, the granting of unpaid FMLA leave of absence to employee number 238 from May 8, 2013 through July 31, 2013, and the granting of unpaid leave of absence from August 1st, 2013 through August 12, 2013. Number 13, in the Department of Public Property Community Services, the granting of paid FMLA leave of absence to employee number 1075 from July 31st, 2013 through October 23rd, 2013, and a paid sick leave of absence from October 24th, 2013 through October 31st, 2013. Number 14, in the Department of Public Property Community Services, the granting of unpaid FMLA leave of absence to employee number 988 from August 1st, 2013 through August 11, 2013. Number 15, in the Department of Public Property Community Services, the granting of unpaid FMLA leave to employee number 790 from August 7, 2013 through September 30, 2013. Number 16, in the Department of Engineering, the acceptance of the resignation of Joseph Horvanek as a part-time Public Works Inspector effective immediately. Number 17, in the Department of Finance, the granting of intermittent FMLA leave to employee number 6134 from June 14, 2013 through December 31, 2013. Number 18, in the Department of Finance, the granting of unpaid FMLA leave to employee number 107427 from August 7, 2013 through September 4, 2013, and unpaid intermittent leave from September 5, 2013 through December 31, 2013, not to exceed 3 weeks in the aggregate. 19, in the Department of Finance, the granting of the intermittent FMLA leave to employee number 91009 from August 19, 2013 through December 31, 2013. Number 20, in the Department of Finance, the granting of intermittent FMLA leave to employee number 172 from August 1, 2013 through December 31, 2013, not to exceed 7 weeks. Number 21, in the Municipal Court, the appointment of Susan Sanchez as Municipal Court Administrator at the salary of $78,000 effective September 23, 2013. Number 22, in the Department of Finance, the posting of 2 positions to replace 2 retiring employees. I move for approval and ask for a second.
Mrs. Giancarlo, before we do the vote, I'd like to ask Mr. Roth the purpose of the numbers. Could you explain it for the people at home?
Yeah, there were new regulations that came out regarding the FMLA, and one of those is an interest in keeping the privacy issues for employees. So what we've done is the council knows the the names of the individuals because we need to keep obviously the record of the FMLA leaves. But for members of the public, because they still have to be ratified by council, the leaves, and approved by council, we've replaced them with the numbers in the public session.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Yamakadis, would you continue,
Yes, I
please?
move for approval and ask for a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski.
Yes.
Medina.
Yes.
Yamakaitis.
Yes.
Sadowski.
Yes.
Cosby Hurling.
Yes.
Armstead.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes to all, and just have a comment on number 7. If anyone doesn't know, this is Jeff. I just want to thank him for his work he's done throughout the city. He heads our Shade Tree Commission, and he's a very valuable asset to the city. So I just want everyone to know, when it comes to trees, this is our guy right here, Jeff. And so I just want to thank you for your work done with the city.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I know you learned quite a bit about the trees as the liaison, as shade tree.
Kalbus.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Okay, as my colleague in the fifth ward touched on, I want to thank everyone for all their participation in rededicating the park to Dorothy Ford Park during our picnic with the 5th and 8th Ward. Many people came out and volunteered to help, and it was really great. Dorothy's family were all present, and her daughter was speechless. She was so happy. It was a great honor to a great woman. I want to thank everyone on this council for supporting that also. I received notification from our engineering department that paving of South Park Avenue between Greer Avenue and Bedell Place will commence this fall. This is welcome news to the residents of Park Avenue, and with the recent newspaper article in regards to the missing link project progressing, we should see some relief down the road with the traffic issues on South Park. I had the opportunity to not only give testimony several years ago for the Port Authority regarding the issues with Park Avenue and traffic in the 8th Ward, but I was recently invited by Mr. Stefanowitz to give input and sit down with some of the developers and engineers with regards to some of the issues with the traffic patterns in the ward. I will keep everyone up to date as this progresses. We are currently still having lane closures on Route 1 and 9 between the hours of 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. for highway repavement. Please follow the detours. They should be done sometime this fall with that. And just an update on some of the city equipment being utilized. The graffiti machine is still up and operational. It was deployed this month to the 8th Ward to remove a few tags. I want to thank Mr. Venditto for his prompt response, as well as the Public Works Department. If you can see, a lot of the graffiti is no longer around the city, and it's because of a proactive approach to removing it. So I want to thank them again for their quick response to getting that down. As my colleague in the 5th Ward mentioned, on Saturday, August 31st, the CDC, or Family Community Development Center, will be sponsoring a back-to-school event in the 8th Ward Community Center on Bedell Place at 11 a.m. There'll be free backpacks and other material, so please come out and join us. And it starts promptly at 11 a.m. When we run out, we run out. I have also received a few requests for trees. If you would like a tree planted in front of your house, please contact me if you have not done so already. And I also submitted a tree request list for trimming and removal of dead trees. Public Works will not be in the ward until the fall, so if you have not given me any yet, if you need trim, please contact me. My telephone number is 925-2309, or you could email me at councilwomanmichelle@gmail.com. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mrs. Yamakadis. Mr. Medina, prior to your report, I'd like to ask Mrs. Cosby Hurling to conclude hers.
Oh, thank you. I had a paper under my paper, so I just wanted to mention this. We have some issues in the community with regard to property maintenance, and public properties are concerned. So the Clean Communities funding is there, although we don't have summer help. We didn't have it this year. There's still funds available. And there's a program by which nonprofit organizations are able to get volunteers, and they can get $300 if they have up to 40 participants. The program is administered through the Union County Clean Communities Program. There's a mini grant. If you'd like the application, you can email me, rcosbyhurling@linden-nj.org, or you can contact the engineer's office at 908-474-8634. Is that okay, George? Okay. And I just want to make sure I put that out there because there are a lot of people out there that want to help and they don't know that, we can help them help us because we are short-staffed in Public Works and we don't want the properties to continue to look the way they do. And I would be remiss if I did not congratulate Councilman Brown and his lovely wife on the birth of their baby girl. Congratulations. I'm sorry, thank you, that's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Cosby Hurling. Mr. Medina, Councilman Medina.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. I have a short report, but just want to share a couple points here. Just want to thank everyone that came out on Sunday the 18th for the renaming of Sunnyside Park to Paul Workmeister. Paul Workmeister's family drove in for the ceremony. They extend their thanks to the city for the honor. I also like the Ninth Ward to know about the construction on the corner of Orchard and St. George. On July 14th, the Linden Jewish community, they broke ground to start construction on their mikvah or ritual bath. They hope to complete this project by the beginning of 2014. A mikvah is a vital Jewish tradition, and it will serve to attract more young families to the area, in case people were wondering what was going on there. Also, I have met with our police chief and sergeant of traffic last week to discuss a strategy to combat the speeding issues on DeWitt and Orchard for the school season. School is starting in a few weeks, and it's crucial that we follow posted speed limit, especially around schools and park. As we all know, summer vacations are winding down, so please enjoy the beautiful weather, be safe on the road, and if you have any tree requests, please reach out to me, 908-986-6100, or you can shoot me an email, amedina@linden-nj.org. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Medina. Councilman Kaczynski.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. In the Construction Code and Lighting Committee in July, they issued the office issued 207 permits. 105 certificates were processed for a total of $61,507 in fees for the month. And also, we're going to try to get many of the forms, the common forms, don't have carbon copies, things like that, online that you can download and bring in already filled out, or come in with a question so you know what you're getting into. And from the fire department, I'd like to read this just in case you're near a fire hydrant that's dealing with this. So commencing immediately and continuing for approximately 6 to 8 weeks, the water company will be upgrading the main to a new, larger main. So it's over 10,000 feet of new pipe, and it's installing new hydrants on Park Avenue and Richford Terrace from Fay Avenue to St. George's Avenue. So while doing so, the main and the hydrants will be in service. They'll still stay in service. But in the meantime, during this upgrade, it's going to be necessary for the water company to periodically flow or sanitize the lines. So the fire department is only to shut down these hydrants if they're needed for firefighting. So you might see water flowing, and that's going to be because they're trying to sanitize the new main. The hydrants, you'll see the ones that are being installed will be adjacent to the existing hydrants. They'll be clearly marked, so there's not going to be any kind of confusion for the firefighters. And the fire department will be notified, obviously, when this is done. So yeah, just in case you see a water flowing, you can feel free to call, just double check. But in most part, it's probably part of this flow project. Secondly, I would just like to remind everyone, as some of my colleagues have, about trees and tree trimmings. We're still a little ways off for the 10th Ward. But if you do have a tree planting request, please get it to me. If you would like a tree, we can put the requests in, submit them in, and hopefully we can get you one. And you can do that by calling me at 908-463-9234 or by email at akaczynski@linden-nj.org. Thank you, Mr. Council President. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilman Kaczynski. Mayor Gagura, Mayor Gabanka.
Thank you, Council President. Finally, after almost a year, federal monies are starting to trickle down to the municipalities in regards to Superstorm Sandy. And Linden is one of the 9, Union County is one of the 9 municipalities that are receiving federal funds, and Linden is included in several of these programs because I think most people are aware we had severe flooding on Emma Place in the 6th Ward, and in the 7th Ward at Tremley Point, various locations in Tremley Point. And I was pleased to be notified that Governor Christie has not forgotten the city of Linden and directed the DEP to come to the city of Linden and offer a program that is really going to be a benefit, in my opinion, to the residents whose homes have been severely flooded. And that, again, is on Emma Place and Tremley Point. They are offering to buy out at pre-Sandy prices homes that have been severely damaged by Superstorm Sandy. Not having 1 or 2 inches of water in your basement, but having your whole first floor covered with water. And we had many homes that were severely damaged. We had a meeting in the 7th Ward Rec Center at 2 times for both of those locations. And again, the DEP with Cindy Randazzo was there to explain the program. September 15th is the deadline for filing if your home was severely flooded. I think most of the residents have been notified. You could pick up an application in my office. If you've suffered severe damage, I recommend that you file and let the state decide whether you're eligible or not. Again, it's going to be homes bought out at pre-Sandy valuation. You're going to have to leave your home. The state is going to knock it down, and we're going to have those areas as open space for perpetuity. Again, you could get the application at my office. September 15th is the deadline. Call my office, 908-474-8493. Walk in, come down, we'll make a copy for you. Or you could email at jbrown@linden-nj.org. There's also money coming from another program, and that's the city of Linden's been made aware of. It's for multifamily homes damaged by the storm. I'm not sure there's many multifamily homes damaged by the storm, but it's available. It's a 1% loan. You could get up to $120,000 if you qualify. And again, I'll read the application. Linden City has been designated in the New Jersey approved CDBG-DR action plan as a most impacted community and is eligible for this priority funding on a first-come, first-served basis. The application's a bit complicated. Again, I will have it in my office. You could go online, but their website is almost a half a page long in width, so I think it's easier to come to my office or call my office, and we'll give you their web page information. Again, I'm not sure many people will qualify because it is a multifamily home, and income is limited when it comes to the eligibility, but it's worth a try if you had severe damage to your home. Also, we have another program that seems very interesting, and I have limited knowledge, but again, I have the flyer where you could further follow up on it, and it's a New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency. And again, Linden being an impacted community with Superstorm Sandy, you qualify if you have low income. And there's a chart here for the price per person. In Union County, it's one-person family is $45,000, two persons $51,000. And I would just read real quick, and again, you could get the flyer to further investigate from my office. The Sandy Homebuyer Assistance Program will provide qualified low and moderate income borrowers with a forgivable interest-free loan of up to $50,000. Again, you got to be eligible, and I have the flyer, and I suggest anybody who wants to check it out, contact my office, again, 474-8493, or you could email at jbrown at linden-nj.org. We also are going to be, we also finished up, let me say, and give credit to some people that worked very hard on this, the Hurricane Sandy Relief Committee, which was formulated by my office, and through the generous contributions of Linden residents, Phillips 66, New Star, and a Kiwanis, which ran a successful fundraiser, a Taste of Linden fundraiser, we were able to distribute monies to the families that suffered severe damage and gave them a few bucks to get on their feet a little bit. And again, I would just like to commend the Dr. Weaver from the Linden Presbyterian Church, Mike and Gary from Links, Matt Cordoza, Mary Ellen Tango from Social Services, Gretchen Hickey, a citizen, Carol Ziegler from Phillips 66, and Jay Dettinger from Links. Again, Links, which was just received a monies from the Linden Fire, FMBA, and superior officers, was instrumental in allowing us to use their 501's 3C designation, and we were able to give checks to needy families after vetting some of the families and seeing the monies and how severely damaged they were. So we're closing out the account. Again, I want to thank everybody that participated. I want to thank the corporations and citizens and Kiwanis that donated for this cause. And it was a successful giveaway program that helped a little bit to the people that suffered severe damage. I'd also like to mention that on September 4th is the closing of the police test. The City of Linden is having a police exam. We're a civil service community, and you could get an application online. That's the only way you could apply for a police officer test run by the state of New Jersey. September 4th is the deadline. You could apply online, www.state.newjersey.us/CSC. www.state.newjersey.us/CSC. Again, you can only apply online. I'll have that information in my office if you didn't get it, and you could always give me a phone call. We're only a phone call away. As mentioned by Councilwoman Cosby Hurling, the Affordable Care Act is going to start taking effect January 1st of next year. That's where everybody's going to be required to have health insurance and the other amenities such as dental. It's also known as Obamacare. A lot of people, including myself, have limited knowledge about this. Hold open the dates of September 11th and September 18th. We're going to have an individual from the U.S. Department of Housing and Human Services on those dates to explain the intricacies of Obamacare. It's going to be available as of October 1st and be effective January 1st of 2014. On September 11th at 7 p.m., we're going to have it at the Gregorio Towers. That's our senior citizen buildings on Dill Avenue. And on the 18th at the JTG Center behind City Hall at 7 p.m. Again, someone from the Department of Health, Housing and Human Services, a federal agency, is going to explain Obamacare. Everybody's going to be required to have it. It's a little controversial in the fact that if you don't have it, you're going to be paying fines for the first 3 years, up to $650. So I think it behooves anybody that doesn't have health care to make these seminars. We're going to advertise it on LindenTV and wherever possible so that everybody could get up to speed in that regard. And the last thing is, I'd like to commend Union County. They did a terrific job on Stiles Street. If anybody from St. John's down to the Route 1 on Stiles, that's been a county road that's been paved by Union County, and I think they did a bang-up job, and like to commend them for it. They got a few more lining to be doing, but most of it has been done. And now you're going to start seeing the highway paved. Route 1 is being paved, and also Route 27, which is St. George's Avenue, from the Elizabeth line to the Woodbridge line. You're starting to see barrels out there and postings of signs. Again, they're all going to be paved. So we're getting our state and county tax money back in road improvements. Maybe not all of it, but at least some of it. End of report, Council President.
Thank you, Mayor Gabunka, and I appreciate your report because I think you had quite a bit to do with getting aid from Trenton for us. I'd like to move into resolutions 2013-291 through 2013-329. Public comments will be permitted for these specific resolutions to be removed from the consent approval. Please read the synopsis of the resolutions, which have been prepared by the City Clerk's office. Each is informative and self-explanatory. If you wish to address a specific resolution, the Council will explain questions on it. Does anyone wish to remove resolutions between 291 and 329 on your right? Ms. Wolverdink?
Council.
306?
Wait, Joe.
What?
Council President, I seek a motion to remove 2013-305, and also seek a motion to amend 2013-325.
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Mr. Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski? Cosby Hurling? Armstead?
Yes.
Brown? Colvis?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. I'm sorry, I'll be just your number again? The number that you wish to remove? 306. I'll get to you in a moment, please. Anybody in the center? Mrs. Malik? 298, 302, 306, 311. Mr. Sharpie? 307 on my left. Mrs. Malik, 318. Is that concluded? Okay. Mr. Ron? 321. 323. On my left, anyone else? Motion for the remainder, please.
Yes, Council President.
Council President, I'm sorry. Can you remove 325 too?
325, please.
He did.
Motion
He
for
said
the
amend.
comments. Comments, please. Motion on the remainder, please.
Yes, Council President. I seek a motion to approve 2013-291. Excuse me here one second. 2013-292. Oh, I'm sorry. I seek a motion to approve all of them with the exception of 306, 298, 302, 311, 307, 318, 321, 323, and 325. And I seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski? Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown? Yes. Colvis?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. I would like to start with 298, Mrs. Malik. 3 minutes, please.
How do we come up with this fee of $35,000? You know, we have to understand that you have to put out something to get something back in terms of bringing some of the revenue in. So can someone just tell me how that $35,000 came about?
Mr. Brown?
I think the treasurer touched on this, is when we were going through the budget, a lot of departments were being brought back to their like 2006, 2007, even 2008 levels. So prior to us even adopting the budget, I know there was a discussion amongst the council, I want to say maybe a month or two ago, where they wanted to bring the level back up.
The level of this fee?
Yeah, and council members had the option of doing that. Again, it was open, we invited feedback, but yet they never followed up on this. So the level was left at this.
I mean, I'm really aghast at this. I mean, everyone's talking about we've got to bring more revenue in. We need someone to do this, to kind of spearhead it. I know that some council members are talking about doing this, but I think the work that the LEDC is doing is very important. And this is piddling money to be giving to someone to expect to get the returns that we're looking for. I'm just, we're picking bone or nitpicking about monies that we're spending, and something like this where I think there could be a good payoff and someone do something. I'm just amazed at this. I really am.
And Ms. Malik, there's two things. One is that at this point we can't amend this because we already adopted a budget, right? So this amount is already budgeted in there. And one thing I keep saying year after year is that LEDC has the ability to, just like any other economic development company, get sources from the outside. And so this is just one, if you want to see entity giving a contribution, where LEDC is open to get contribution for ConocoPhillips or from Merck. or
When
from
you say
any other.
contributions, I mean
This
to
is a
support his.
contribution.
Okay, but isn't this the fee that's going to be paid to Ron?
This is a contribution. What happens is, a couple of years ago when I brought this up, this as well as Pop Warner, right, is that these were line items that were put in there. And when I brought up this question about how we're paying these, the paper trail and if we're going through the proper process, it was discovered that we need to do these as contributions. And then the follow-up to that was not only do we have to do this as contributions, but we have to have a contract, which the city never had a contract. Now, LEDC can get contributions, and this is what this is. This isn't a payment, this isn't a fee. We don't tell LEDC how to utilize these funds. All it is a contribution, and the LEDC Board of Trustees.
But the bottom line is, this is the salary that's going, or the compensation to Ron, is that correct?
Ms. Malik, LEDC determines that. All we're doing is giving a contribution. What they do with the money is up to them. They can use it for that, they can use it for whatever. We have no say legally in how they use those funds. Just like underneath with Pop Warner, we give a contribution, they can determine how they use those funds.
You were going to say something?
He's just going to wait till you're done.
Okay. Were you going to make a comment on this?
I was going to ask the council people to wait till you're done to answer your questions. So we have.
All right, well, I made my point. I just think that for this small amount of money to expect to get revenue coming in to someone to do the job.
Okay, so may I allow Mr.
Sure.
Mr. Armstead, please?
Yes, Mr. President. Mrs. Malik, here's where the chairman and I disagree. I happen to feel that a city of this size and a city of this magnitude, and giving the effort that is needed to bring in and attract businesses to this town, I don't think $35,000 is nearly enough. I happen to think that Ron Stefanowicz does a good job. I know he's established some very good relationships with the corporations in his town. I know he's constantly outreaching to other corporations, okay? The problem here in Linden with the businesses not coming into the town right now have a lot to do with the litigation that this town is faced with currently. I know Ron has been working on the extended road for the turnpike, and I think that once that is complete, you're going to see a deluge of corporations wanting to come into this town. I know also that Ron has been in contact with a corporation who is looking for up to 55,000 square feet in Linden. And I think that if he's successful, there's going to be companies like that that are going to help turn our situation in this town around. So again, I just don't feel that $35,000 is enough for what Ron does, and I think that for a city like Linden, we have to be willing to spend a little bit more if we want a tangible result.
Council President, can I comment, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and then I'll ask Mr. Sadowski.
Thank you. I also concur with Councilman Armstead and disagree with Councilman Brown. I think you're being penny wise and pound foolish when you have the Linden Economic Development Director who works or was working full-time, because he works out of my office, getting $30,000 or $35,000 budget, of which his salary's got to come out of that. He was getting $65,000 last year, and that's almost a 50% reduction in his budget. I mean, that's absurd. The man has got us Transit Village status after 4 years of hard work. The previous administration twice failed on Transit Village status, and we've already reaped the benefits of $1.2 million in grants. He's working on a connector road that was in limbo for 15 years, since 1998. We are close to having the environmental impact statement agreed upon by all the different environmental groups, which is going to run a road, a feeder road off of exit 12 in Carteret across the Rawway River into Tremley Point Road, our heavy industrial section. That's going to take the truck traffic off of Southwood Avenue. That's going to open up 400 acres of heavy industry for development, and we're cutting his salary by 50%. It don't make sense. And sometimes I wonder if it isn't political,
Council President.
rather than trying to save money. This is a shame, it's disgraceful, and I'm very disappointed at this governing body for supporting a tremendous cut like this for an agency that has tremendous amount of respect and networking, not only in the city of Linden, but throughout the county, and an individual that's working hard for the benefit of Linden.
Council
Thank
President.
you, Council President.
Councilman Sadowski.
Council President.
Ronnie is a good friend of mine. We go to church, we're ushers in church, I've known him for years. But one of the reasons that we cut the salary was, at the beginning for the budget, the cliche was everyone has to bleed a little. That was the cliche. I see people shaking their heads, but if other people took cuts, everyone should take a cut. It might, excuse me, no, let me finish. Maybe it was a little bit too much, but I mean, this is what was decided by the council. Ronnie does a good job, but you have to, like I said, to pass the budget, you have to cut a little. So that's the reason. Thank you.
Councilman Brown.
Yeah. And again, I mean, Councilman Armstead and the mayor, there's no argument that we disagree with this. Again, it's a contribution. He does not collect a paycheck from the city. He's not part of our payroll. It's a separate board of trustees. But I do want to point out, and if anyone correct me if I'm wrong, is that when this was brought up, and Councilman Armstead, the mayor, and other people wanted to increase this, as well as members who voted no for this budget, we were open to it. Give us a number. They never gave us a number. So, I mean, to say that you disagree with this, but yet you were given the opportunity to increase it, and a month later, nothing was done. And last month, when we introduced the budget, again, does anybody have any questions? It was dead silent. And all this stuff is recorded. So 2 months ago, when this was brought up, or 3 months ago, and disagree with it, it should be increased. Okay, what should it be increased to? No number was given. A month goes by. Does anybody have any questions when the budget was introduced? The same number was in there? No. The budget gets passed, we have a problem with it, but again, you had 3 months. to say something, do something about it. We were open to it, nothing was done. So, some people want to say that the ball dropped, they dropped it, but it shouldn't be pushed back when we said, hey, then give us a number, and nothing was done. So,
Council President, I want to retort that statement, because
go ahead.
Councilman Brown is trying to deflect his reduction of the budget for over 50% by saying that nobody spoke up. I spoke up. I vehemently argued that point, that you're cutting a budget that's going to bring in revenue, and for you, Councilman Brown, to stand up there and say that nobody said nothing is totally false.
Mayor, I didn't say that no one said anything. I clearly said, you, Councilman Armstead, others did say something, it should be increased. What I am saying is that no number was given. When we put the budget together and we have this line item, no number was given as far as what you guys would like to see was increased to. This is all documented. The clerk has it on file. If a number was given saying we would like this at 45 or at 50, then we could put that number in. You did say we want this increase. But to increase to what?
Mr. President, if I may.
Mr. Armstead, and then I have a comment.
When we first started discussing the cuts for Mr. Stefanowicz's budget, at that time, we were looking at possible furloughs for all city employees. And we pretty much felt that if there was going to be a cut in Mr. Stefanowicz's budget, it should be consistent with the same type of cut that the city employees would feel. We felt like everybody should feel the same pain. However, during the course of our budget hearings and our budget negotiations, we somehow found the money by instituting a garbage tax. So there are no furloughs as we speak of to date. So basically, the only person who was really cut and adversely affected, as I see it, would be Mr. Stefanowicz in his budget. So I think what has occurred is unfair. I think it should be reversed. I think, again, that the operation and the importance of his particular department is very significant. And I think at a time when Linden is suffering and we are really trying to bring businesses in, this is not the area that we should cut. So the actual number that we're talking about, if we want to look at it from the point that we argued from, is that he technically should have been reinstated to his original numbers.
Council President?
Mrs. Cosby next.
Thank you, Council President. Well, Councilman Armstead is correct that initially it was discussed, the cut of the budget or the donation to the Linden Economic Development Corporation, but we've been talking about the Linden Economic Development Corporation since I've been here, 3 years. And the Linden Economic Development Corporation is a separate entity. We are generous in giving a donation. We are not required to make sure that this man maintains his salary. Every other donation that we give to other organizations, they have the responsibility to go out and seek other streams of revenue, whether they do fundraisers or they get donations from the corporate partners in the town where they work. Mr. Stefanowicz has done some things in the town as far as follow-up. I'm not sure if he initiated the Transit Village or not, but since I've been here, all we have gotten was follow-up. And he can continue to follow up, but the Revenue Enhancement Committee, which would be members of this governing body, should, step up and do a little bit more, because that's what the committee is all about. Work with him, work with the SID organizations and things like that. We should not be held liable because we can't afford to keep giving away donations. When years ago we were talking about a sports program and Mr. Alvarez came up and said, well, where's my money? So if we're going to keep just giving money away, and then Councilman Armstead says put it back to where it was $62,000. It went up to $65,000. And then we were on the hook for the audit as well. So if an organization has a budget, it shouldn't be from only one source. And that's the point. And Councilman Koziel's not here, but he's been saying it since I've been here for 3 years. We may need to look at a true company with a staff of more than one person.
Council President?
Mr. Brown, and then I have comments myself.
All right. Now Councilman Armstead, hold on. If you want to bring the number back up to the 65,000, here's the problem. And this is the first time I'm hearing a number, right? Or a suggestion, as far as a number. So 65,000. The problem is, Alexis, the budget that we just passed, where are we when it comes to the cap? Are we under cap? Are we at cap?
We're about 7,000 within the cap.
So we're $7,000 within the cap. So now you would have to make cuts somewhere else. So if you take the difference right now, about $30,000, right? You want to increase it to, we're under cap by about $7,000, right? So if we go right at the cap, you still have to find another $23,000 somewhere else. Now, I know that's peanuts, but yet, then we have to go through this whole budget process again. And again, the opportunity was given. I want to make it very clear. You did express, I'm not taking it away. You want to increase, but yet no number was given to plugged into this budget.
Mr. President, before you speak, can I say one more thing? I promise you.
Councilman Armstead, I yield to you.
I just want to say one last thing. To compare a Linden Economic Development Corporation to a Pop Warner football program, to me, is like ludicrous. I mean, you're talking about a branch, an organization that's responsible for bringing in revenues versus an organization that's responsible for teaching children how to play football and keeping them off the street. You're comparing apples to oranges here, and you really can't. I mean, Pop Warner, of course, we rely on donations. Yeah, we got kids doing canister drives. We're selling cakes and pies to raise money. But to compare that to the Linden Economic Development Corporation, I think is almost ridiculous. That concludes my statements for this, Mr. President.
And just in closing, Councilman Armstead.
Mr. Brown?
I'm sorry, Council President. Yeah, I just want to make it clear. When I made the comparison, it's the way that it needs to be structured, the disclosure, is that you have a separate line item, which wasn't done in the past, and it needs to be a contract. So that comparison is correct. The second is that when you give donations to an organization, whether it's Pop Warner, LEDC, or anything else like that, the city is giving funds to an organization which we do not have control over. So that comparison is correct. The function of Pop Warner and LEDC, you're absolutely right, are different. But the control that the city has over these funds is the same. Again, we give money, we have no control over how those money is utilized. Hence why we have to get an audit to make sure that these funds that we're giving, taxpayer funds to a separate organization, are being utilized correctly. So that comparison, I'm sorry, is correct, where we do not control the funds.
Does that conclude your remarks, Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Malik, if I may, I participated in the debate, and what came up was consistency. They brought up the example of the SID, and I don't think the consistency is there as far as it's apples and oranges. I've personally attended meetings with Mr. Stefanovitz in New York City about the connector road, and the Coast Guard is in charge. Every branch of government was there. We hit a roadblock. He's pursued it. The connector road is now on a fast track. The government, the wheels of government grind slowly. This has been going on for over 10 years. The mayor will tell you what position we're in now. We're much better off. The amount of money that we're donating, it's cutting your nose off. It's the wrong place to cut. So I oppose this, and I won't vote for it. Mr. Stefanovitz. Mr. Stefanovitz. Not Stefanovitz, Mr.
Alexis, what would happen to the budget if we approve this $35,000?
The 35,000 is in the budget, so there's no change to the budget.
There'll be no change to the budget?
This 35,000 that's on is in the budget. If you
I
wanted
mean-
to increase it, it would be,
Excuse me, yeah, no,
you wouldn't
no.
be able to because the budget is finally
What would
adopted.
it be if we left it at the same?
The budgets are finally adopted, so you cannot amend the budget once it's adopted. This budget has been adopted
So
tonight.
it has to be, okay. Thank you.
Further questions from the audience? If not, I'll ask for a motion.
Council President, I seek a motion to approve Resolution 2013-298 and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski.
I'm going to vote yes, but there was a straw poll done, and at that time, I was, I think, the only, along with Councilman Sheehy, who voted to restore it to what it was, but we were outvoted. So considering that this is in the budget and it's a contract, I would vote yes.
Medina.
Yes.
Yamakaitis.
Yes.
Sadowski.
No.
Cosby Hurling.
Yes.
Armstead.
I'm going to vote yes. However, I would like to see this restored in our next year's budget to a more acceptable number that I feel is appropriate with the kind of work that Ron Stefanowicz does.
Brown.
Yes.
Kalbus.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
No. Mrs. Malik, 302.
I don't think
This issue with the council president and maybe the legality of having a council president, I'm just amazed that we're spending so much time and this hasn't been resolved and that we're even taking this to court. So I just want to make that comment. And also, isn't there possibly conflict of interest because wasn't Ed Kaloji our chief lawyer, city attorney a couple of years ago, and now he's involved in this? Why, a couple of years ago, this wasn't, even before you were elected, why wasn't this ever brought up when we had our past council president?
I prefer Mr. Hudak comment on that.
So I don't necessarily need a comment, but I'm amazed at this, that this type of dribble is coming out and that we're spending our time on it. That's it.
Thank you.
Council President.
Motion, please.
Yes, Council President. I seek a motion to approve 2013-302 and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski.
Yes.
Medina.
Yes.
Yamakaitis.
Yes.
Sadowski.
Yes.
Cosby Hurling.
Yes.
Armstead.
Yes.
Brown.
Abstain.
Kalbus.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes. 306, Mrs. Wolberding. 3 minutes, please.
306.
Good evening. I have a solution. You guys are always looking for solutions for problems. I'm going to need Mr. Vandito up here for some help. Because you would know the answers to all this. So I have an idea. Need to run past you.
306.
And to save money, because Derek, you're always talking about suggestions to save money, so pay attention now, listen. All right, to me, we're spending $80,000 to a company, CME, which I personally do not trust, as I didn't trust Birdsall. We have $80,000. We have people like Louis and some other workers that know this dump. Probably Louis knows everything that went into the dump because he's been working there for decades. Why can't we train our workers to do, let's see what they're going to do. They're going to air permitting, monitoring, and reporting at the Linden landfill. I think our guys are experts in, they've been there decades, and to bring in someone from the outside, we could save money. Send them where they have to go, DPE or wherever they need to learn this training, and we could save money so that we don't have to pay an outside company to do this. I have confidence in the people that are in our dump, so suggestion.
Well, I have every confidence in them, in those gentlemen also, but I don't know that with this type of permitting, you might have to be completely certified. I don't know that the certification, what I don't have is an answer for you. I don't know if they would be certified, if they would, what kind of, what kind of schooling they would need for that.
Okay, so this is my suggestion, because a lot of times it's just a certificate where they might go for 4 hours and get a certificate, then they do 2 jobs and all of a sudden they're an expert. Can we find out what it requires to become an expert in areas like this? Start getting our guys their certificates, the certification, to start saving our money. It bothers me that we're spending over $1 million on a dump, and I know when Mr. Frazier was here, he explained, okay, we had to do for the methane gas and the plumbing or whatever. Okay, that's
minute,
one time,
please.
it's done. But can't we get our guys a little bit, the extra training to start saving our money? Like I said, they've been working there decades. They know what went into this. They, to me, are better experts than the guys that we're bringing in from the outside. All they might need is a little bit more training and a little more certificates. So could we look into this? Might be a DPA, Department of Environmental Protection, kind of thing, and that's my suggestion.
Ms. Wolverdink?
Possibly get our guys a little bit more training.
Ms. Wolverdink,
Ms. Hudak, hold on for a moment.
Pardon?
Ms. Wolverdink,
Ms. Hudak?
Yes.
I prefer that she finishes the questions before we respond.
No, that was
No,
my
yeah.
idea, to get these guys some training, and, you know, he might know what to research and all. It's a suggestion to save us money. We're spending $1 million on a dump, and that stinks to me.
Thank you.
Great.
We're gonna-
Okay, so tell me what your...
Mrs. Wolverdink,
Wolverdink,
now we're going to respond to your question.
Yeah.
Okay.
The problem is that these positions, these are not just some certificates you go and get. You need a engineering degree and a engineering license in order to do these jobs, which first off, you have to have a college degree, an engineering degree, then a license on top of that for specific purposes. It's not just another certificate someone in the department can go get.
Okay, we have an engineer. How many do we have?
Council
Is that
President.
something they could possibly look into getting certified? It's an idea. I'm really trying to save money because it's $1 million and now we're spending $80,000.
Mrs.
And like I
Wolverdink?
said, I think our guys know that dump inside out,
Mrs. Wolverdink,
literally.
Allow us to answer your question.
Sure.
Mr. Brown, please.
Yeah, I know Councilman Medina and Mayor Garbanca, they've been in a landfill. I think this has been addressed, and maybe the engineer can talk more as far as what the monitoring that goes on and the reports and everything else like that. I know this has been looked at, has it not?
What we're talking about is an environmental engineer, a specialty no different than a surgeon versus a general practitioner. And these are charts and reports that go to the DEP. So you need somebody that's college educated and has a degree in environmental engineering. And CME knows that landfill like the back of their hand, and I have all the utmost confidence in the individual that does that reporting, because we're required by the DEP every quarter to give reports in regards to air monitoring, in regards to seismometers, which measure the movement of the landfill, and in regards to the water table. So again, this is not just a simple little check-the-box type of thing. This is charts, reading, and reporting to the DEP. So again, you need somebody that knows what they're doing.
Okay, so then
Mrs.
couldn't we
Wolverdink,
hire?
Mrs. Wolverdink?
Yeah.
We understand the question. We have council people here who want to respond to it. Mr. Medina, Councilman Medina?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to try to clarify a couple things, and I know our city engineer is here, and also our director of public properties and public works is here. Actually, as the chairman of the committee, in the beginning of the year, we looked at different options. We looked at options of having the guys do some of the projects over the weekend, and unfortunately, that didn't work out. No manpower. The machines, we didn't have updated machines. So, it's a good idea to kind of train some of these guys to do some of the projects. But when it comes to this kind of stuff where stuff has to be tested in the lab, reports has to be submitted to DEP, that's, again, like the mayor said, we need professionals for that are certified and they're engineers. Again, in the beginning, when I took over the committee, we looked at saving monies by doing certain projects over the weekend, because this money also includes, I don't know exactly the 80,000, but the overall budget of the landfill includes certain projects that need to be done, either be dredgings or whatever it is. But unfortunately, we just don't have the manpower, we don't have updated machines, and we just don't have the money, as you can tell, with the budget, to spend $5–10 million on actually getting more manpower and new machineries to actually maintain the landfill for the next, I believe, 26 years.
I'd like to ask the engineer if he could have a comment on this, please.
This job, every month, the 54 wellheads have to be checked for oxygen, nitrogen, methane, things like that. The flare that's burning off the methane, that has to be checked quarterly. They had to run a methane check at 90-foot grid every quarter. They have to write reports to DEP, EPA, something that if I had 8 people like I did 6 or 7 years ago, possibly. Right now, we're down to 3 people with engineering. I have no time.
So would it be maybe an idea to maybe hire someone that is a certified engineer that could do this? That would save us money down the road, since we are responsible for this landfill for so many years. So it's just an idea. I'm trying to think of stuff to save money. And one more idea. Could you please turn down the air conditioning in this room? I am so cold. Could we save some money there? It's like a refrigerator in here, and I'm sure you guys are freezing up there too. Hot, are you kidding me?
I ask for a motion, please. Oh, Mrs. Malik.
Just to segue on what Diane was saying, Mayor, you were saying something that every quarter they have to do this test? So that means really the $80,000, it's really times 4, so it's really $320,000. Is that correct, that we have the outlay?
No, that isn't correct.
It is, no. My specific question is, what is the time frame for this fee? And is it every quarter, or is it, because I seem to remember quite often, this question comes up, and I always come up here and talk about, or question about the fees. So what I'm asking is, this is per quarter, per year, or what?
Well, again, what we're talking about is various what's the word I'm looking for? Various ways to monitor the landfill, whether it be the air monitoring, whether it be the slope stability. And again, each of them have different criteria. Some are 6 months, some are every quarter. So that's what this covers.
Mr. Verchik, how long would that be for?
So the time, so specifically, so the time frame for this fee is for what?
I got an answer for you. Mr. Verchik?
This is for 6 months, from July through December of this year.
Okay, so then what Diane was saying is, it's not just 80,000, it's, twice that. So that we're putting out in a year.
Approximately prorated.
Right, and so then if this is only for, other than the air permitting monitoring, I know that there's like water sampling you have to do, so can you just tell me, this handles like air emissions, but for like water emissions and testing, what type of fees do we have annually?
The well,
Roughly.
about 30,000 for the wells.
And that's just a one-time per year?
That's quarterly, but 30,000 is for the whole year.
Oh, 30,000 is for the whole year then? Okay, so that's about $200,000, a little less than $200,000 for permitting. So if someone would be brought in for $200,000, that's a nice fee.
Thank you. Motion?
Yes, Council President. I seek a motion to approve, excuse me a second, 2013-306, and then seek a second.
Second. Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski? Crosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Colbus?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 307, Mr. Sharpie? 3 minutes, please.
I just want to explain to them what this resolution means to all, anyone who gets behind the wheel. If you have one, the state law says any more than that one. If you go into a restaurant and you have 2, and you come out after eating a full-course meal, and you've had 2, state law says you've had 2, the officer could pull you over. Having over more than one and getting
Use your
behind the
microphone.
wheel, or even having one, you've broken the law. So let the form anyone who gets behind the wheel. has had 1 ounce of alcohol in your body, any officer, state troopers, federal officers can legally, by law, pull you over, cuff you, and take you out of your car. Many lives are lost. Children, mothers, fathers have died. So just remember, when you get behind the wheel and you have alcohol in your body, just remember where alcohol can take you. Thank you.
And follow up, Mr. Sharpie, it's not the intention of the person when they start to drink to hurt anybody, but that's the outcome of it.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Motion, please.
Yes, Council President. I seek a motion to approve 2013-307, and I seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski.
Yes.
Medina.
Yes.
Yemakaitis.
Yes.
Sadowski.
Yes.
Cosby Hurling.
Yes.
Armstead.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Colbus.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes. 311, Mrs. Malik, please.
Maybe just 1 or 2 sentences. What is the Community Development Block Grant Program?
Mr. Verchik.
This is a federal grant that filters down to the county. There's 19 communities involved, and we receive grants for housing and street resurfacing each year.
Okay, thanks.
Motion, please.
Yes, Council President. I seek a motion to approve 2013-311 and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski.
Yes.
Medina.
Yes.
Yemakaitis.
Yes.
Sadowski.
Yes.
Cosby Hurling.
Yes.
Armstead.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Colbus.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes. Mrs. Malik, 318.
I'm kind of perplexed here. The city, through the Neighborhood Preservation Program, holds a mortgage with a perpetual lien. The owners have sought to refinance their first mortgage. How long has this been going on, and why, having a perpetual lien?
This is under the housing rehabilitation program the city's been doing for a number of years. We took money from other communities, from Mount Laurel money and other monies, and it is then used to improve the houses, the buildings of low, moderate income homeowners who apply to the program. The city puts a lien on it. The lien is perpetual until they get rid of the house, at which time the city would get the money back, and we recirculate that money to other improvements in other homes. Often there's another lien on the house, so the people ask us to subrogate. They're refinancing their mortgage, their first mortgage, so they want to, we need to subrogate in order for them to be able to refinance and make savings on that.
So it's not a technically, it's not a perpetual lien on that same house. It rolls over to like another investment property, another one, another one.
Well, no, what would happen is if this particular person in a particular house was sold, the city would then get back the money, and we would roll it over back into the program. We have an outside vendor that handles the program, and they approve the loans to other people that need rehabilitation.
Right, so it's not one house that's perpetual, okay.
Well,
but
it's perpetual, it's termed a
it's
perpetual mortgage.
I got
It's
you.
a technical
Okay,
term.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Motion, please.
Yes, Council President. I seek a motion for the approval of 2013-318 and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski.
Yes.
Medina.
Yes.
Yemakaitis.
Yes.
Sadowski.
Yes.
Cosby Hurling.
Yes.
Armstead.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Colbus.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes. 321, Mr. Roman.
The resolution to establish Chapter 159 FY 2012 from Safer Grant, $2 million. What's this about?
Please.
Good evening. I believe this is a
Would you
technical move.
introduce yourself, please?
I'm sorry, Deputy Chief Joe Dooley. I'm just covering for the chief this evening. This is a technical budgetary move. The city is required to add this grant money into the budget, and this is the technical way of doing that.
Okay, so you're telling me this grant money is available, but the city's going to put it up first?
No, what they're doing is this saying that this will be reflected as revenue in the budget, because the federal government will be giving us the money.
Okay, thank you.
May I have a motion, please?
Yes, Council President, I seek the approval of 2013-221, and I seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Crosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Colbus?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 323, Mr. Roma?
Okay, this falls under that same type of thing. Is this a grant where you're going to get the money back? And it's established in the budget as well for the cracks of the airport? Is phase 2?
Mr. Vochick?
Yes, this is a FAA grant. They're paying for 90%. The state will be paying for 5%, and the airport operator will be paying for 5%.
Okay, thank you.
Motion, please?
Yes, Council President, I seek a motion for the approval of 2013-323, and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Crosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Colbus?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 323, Councilman Brown?
25.
325, I'm sorry. Councilman Brown?
Right now, there's amendment on the floor, right, for this?
Council President, yes, I am correct. I made a mistake. It is being amended to $1.
Motion?
So with the vote on the amendment? and then
I
vote
believe
on
the amendment was already voted on when Councilman Medina made that at the beginning of the hearing on the resolutions.
Okay, all right, so everyone's clear on 325, amendment was made so that this developer that's developing Southwood Avenue is being reduced from $100 to $1 annually. So developer's gonna be renting city-owned property for less than 10 cents a month. Meanwhile, residents, I don't have to finish this.
Council President, I'd like to comment on this, please.
Mr. Mayor?
You know, Councilman Brown, that was a mistake made in caucus last night with the $100. We debated this for quite some time.
Mayor, I agree. I had nothing to do with this.
Okay.
My problem is still the same problem I had yesterday, it being $1. How it got changed to that, I'm not involved in that at all. As much as, people want to throw it back at me, I even disagree with the $100, But the fact remains is that we're looking to rent out city-owned property to the parking lot and the first floor of the firehouse for less than $1 a year, and I disagree with that. I mean, it's just insane.
Well,
we have a multi-million-dollar company that's coming to do work for their benefit. They're building not for our benefit, they're building for their benefit, and we're saying you can use our property, rent it out, for $1 for the year. It's just crazy. Meanwhile, we're asking residents to do more, to pay more. I just think it needs to be spread out across. I mean, this is a multi-million-dollar company that is in a better financial situation than we are in. That's just me.
Can I comment, Council President?
Please, Mr. Mayor, explain the...
What this is Southwood Avenue development, the vacant lot, which has been vacant since 2005. It's not that we have 10 different developers banging on our door to develop that property. We got a legitimate developer now. That firehouse is vacant. It is a real pigsty because it's been vacant for 2 years or even longer, and they want to use it for storage for their construction materials when they're going to be developing that property across the street. This is a development that's going to spark a tremendous amount of development on Southwood Avenue and Northwood Avenue. It's going to ignite restaurants, it's going to give quality stores, and what we're doing here is working with a developer who's going to be able to create a development for the entire Wood Avenue area, because he's going to be the one that's going to ignite the spark that's going to create the explosion. Again, this is not a sought-after building. It's falling apart. He's got to clean it out. He's got a lot of work to do in there. And again, we're here to work with the developer because he's going to improve our neighborhood. And also, as the project gets underway, I'm sure there's going to be issues that are going to occur, and we're going to have to work them out, like in any major development. So you have a rapport with the developer, and to me, it's just foolish to try to squeeze every little penny, especially when he's going to be putting in a sewer that's going to run a whole block long, a storm sewer, from his project down Morris Street onto Clinton Street. Again, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face for a few pennies on a building that's abandoned and a total mess inside. And for Councilman Brown to continue to harp on this, I think is just is ridiculous. We got to work with somebody that's going to improve our city.
Mrs. Malik, would you like to comment on this?
Council President, I just want to add on to the mayor's comment. The developer...
Let me finish Mrs. Malik, and then I'll call any,
I
because I have
disagree.
Mr. Brown. I got a water.
Anytime you put a project in, you need to put in infrastructure, so you have to put a sewer in. And why I didn't raise my hand for this, because I saw $100, I have written down here low. So if you think $1 a token is okay, $100, and I didn't know that it was like $1. So just a couple of questions. For our assistant chief over here for the fire department, when someone moves out of a firehouse, why should that firehouse be in a state of disarray when you move out? Why is it a pigsty? So what kind of cleaning up are you going to be doing in here? You close the door. Why is it a pigsty? Has someone been trashing it? You lock it up. You move the stuff out. So it should be like an empty warehouse that the city of Linden could be using. You know, I don't know what type of structurally how sound it is, but how old is that firehouse, roughly? 60 years, 70 years, roughly?
Council President.
Ms. Malik, I believe that's a 1917 or a 1919 firehouse.
Right.
Mrs. Cosby-Hurley, please use
not
your
that old.
microphone.
Not that old, but I mean, it could maybe be used for something. 100. There's a lot of buildings that are 100 years old, okay? So you can be doing other things, but the only point I wanted to make is I'm surprised $1, I would not give it to this person. Because if I'm not mistaken, we had a discussion for the same developer, we're giving them some tax breaks and whatnot. So that's my personal view.
That's not so. He's not getting a tax break.
Well, no, we had this discussion, I think, last month or so, and it was
Yes, the
explained
city
it's
of
not really
Linden
a
is getting more
tax
money
break.
than if we went through the normal tax process. And again, that's a misconception by the public. He is not getting a tax break.
Anyone that's doing construction, okay, has to have some support for where they're going to be putting their, their supplies and whatnot, and you're going to be giving them this. And if they haven't taken that into account in their development, that's poor planning on their part. So my comment is $100 is low.
Thank you. Council people, I have order. Mr. Brown, you want to start? You had a comment?
One, it's, when we talk about, working with developers, you bring up one of the 3 points I was going to bring up. One is that they got variance for parking. I kept talking about this parking, they went to the planning board, and they got a variance and reduction of the parking. Two is that they increased their density. So we're working with the developer again. So the original redevelopment plan talked about how much density was going to be. The council worked with the developer to increase their density and lower their parking requirement. So there's two things we worked with them. And then you mentioned the pilot program. We did a 30-year pilot program. Does the city get more money? Absolutely. But here's the problem I have with the pilot program is that it's a residential building. People are going to be living there, right? And we're not, under the pilot program, taxes will not be going to your school system. Now, to the mayor's credit, yes, he is talking about this whole area, a domino effect, more development. Guess what the next developer is going to do? They're going to want a pilot program too, and then developer after that, and then developer after that, and all of a sudden you're going to have people who are living in these residential units not paying school taxes. Those school taxes, guess what, shifts over to every one of us. That's the long-term picture, what I'm looking at. But again, we gave this developer a 30-year pilot program, which I find too long. So there's 3 ways that we're helping them out. Now, my discussion is, rather than help them out, how are they helping us? They're a business. They didn't come here because, for goodwill. They came here to make money. They've done this before in other cities where they've developed and made money. And so this thing that we have to bend over backwards for them, I'm sorry, I don't take it. Asking them to pay more money, they're not going to walk away. If we said we want some, whether it's $100, $500, I don't know. If we ask them for more money for this, they're not going to go back to their investors and say, you know what, we're not going to build in the city of Linden because they want to charge us for storing our equipment there. They're not going to go back to the bank, which they've got a commitment from, and say, you know what, we're not going to build here. It's ridiculous. Now, when we're talking about pennies and dimes here, well, 2 things. One is the principle. We asked residents a couple months ago to pay $10 a month for garbage, and we're still getting, comments about that. But then you have a multi-million-dollar company coming in, and you're saying, you know what, we'll let you rent out this property for $1, a couple of cents a month. To me, that's a matter of principle. Is that you already know people are struggling. We know this. We passed this budget, and we know everyone's hurting. We're asking everyone to pitch in. The developer comes in, and we're just saying, here, take the property. That's a matter of principle to me, which I can't get over.
Thank you.
To me, it's just wrong.
Councilman Medina?
Thank you, Council President. Ms. Malik, and I'll try to stay on topic here with this question, but again, I have to agree with the mayor. We're building a rapport with the developer. Again, we don't have 20 developers knocking on our door. This is a great deal for the city of Linden. It's going to benefit the entire city, revenue-wise, tax base-wise, whatever you want to call it, is going to benefit the entire city. One thing the mayor did fail to mention, they will be covering their own utilities. So we're not giving them just the building for $1. We're not going to be paying for their utility as well. I will never support something like that. So they will be paying their heat, electric, water, and everything that's associated with renting a building, but we're just going to give them the building for $1 because we want to build that relationship, and hoping that the relationship will go further into the future with more development, of course, of more property. So in business, you have to invest. We were just talking about this a little bit earlier about Ron and LEDC. You have to invest to get something back. So we're investing a little bit. And by doing this for this developer, it's going to pay off in the long run. Again, they're covering their utilities, so we're not giving them the utilities for free. I just want to make that clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Medina. Councilwoman Cosby Hurley?
Mrs. Malik, I just want to say to you that the building is not vacant, actually, as we speak. It's also being rented for $1 to a nonprofit organization, so they occupy the 2nd floor. They're going to share the space with this developer. My concern was, we're paying $10 a month for garbage, or we're expecting, the residents to pay that, but this, like Councilman Brown said, they have buku money. If they were not using this place, where would they be? They would be getting yard space, or they would be getting dumpsters and all like that. It's not fair to you or me that we just hand it over like that. And I agree, we want to build relationships. We've been working with the developer. We have. And what else can we do? So we're going to say, here, you take this, but then our neighbors are going to have to not only absorb the school property tax for the next 30 years, but also just let you take our space and use it. And another thing I just wanted to mention that I don't think the mayor mentioned, he wants this to be a restaurant when it's all said and done. So he's trying to, if you will, save the space. He wants the firehouse to be a restaurant. So it's 100 years old. It's still there. It's still being used. And I guess, the idea is, make nice with them, and maybe, I'm just assuming, and forgive me if I'm wrong, maybe they'll go ahead and make this nice for him afterwards so we can get that fancy restaurant.
Thank you. Councilman Armstead?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to remind this council and the public that we had a developer for this piece of property. And let me tell you, it was a nightmare, a disaster, fiasco. I mean, I could probably think of 1,000 words to tell you how it turned out. And that developer wound up taking us to court, and we had members on this governing body who wanted to settle, and we chose not to. We fought them in court, and we wound up not giving them $2 million. The other thing that I want to mention here is that, like the mayor mentioned and like Councilman Medina mentioned, you have a developer who has chosen to come to Linden, and you want to create some incentives for him to get him to build and to get him to do a good job, and I think he will do a good job. I want to make this perfectly clear that this developer is more than capable of putting a trailer on the property that he's developing. Okay, he's more than capable of doing that. Okay, but the downside of that is that you would create more of a problem. You're right next to a school. You're going to create more of a problem traffic-wise and flow-wise. So it's in our interest. It's in our best interest to try to let them utilize the property. We are benefiting as much as the developer is benefiting. Okay, at the end of the day, we're going to have a beautiful project, as everyone has mentioned prior. It's going to ignite the development on Southwood Avenue. There are others who are already showing an interest in developing in that particular area. And let me tell you, we talk about trying to create ratables in this town. This is the way we have to do it. We have to invite and create incentive for developers to come in our town. If you go to Rawway, and the same firm, the same developer is in Rawway, and if you would look and take the time to look at what the city council, the governing body, and the planning boards in that town did to attract this particular developer, you'll see that they are very similar to some of the things that we're providing this developer. So the bottom line is, if you want to move forward, you have to figure out ways to attract developers, and you have to give them incentives. That's my conclusion.
Mr. Brown, you wanted 10 seconds?
Yeah, a couple of things. One is that this is not an incentive. An incentive is when you make a proposal, everything's up front, this is what we're going to offer you. This is after the fact. This was never part of the original redevelopment plan. So this is not an incentive. This is, we're giving you something, all right? So throw that out the window. The second thing is this nonsense about paying utilities. That's fine. Most people who rent or own a home, guess what? We all pay utilities on top of other expenses. But the kicker is, and I explained this yesterday, $1, just like we have Green Cab and other companies that we have agreements with, is that somebody here inside City Hall puts together those bills and sends it out. I explained yesterday, that person's time is worth more than $1 a year. So if you look at it from administration costs, we're not even covering that. Second is that the postage, let's talk about postage that even we send it out there is more than $1 a year. So it's deals like this, in my opinion, that cause us to be in some type of trouble. We're not even covering our cost of overhead to build this person, the utilities. To me, it's not an incentive.
10 seconds.
It's a bad deal.
Councilman Sadowski?
Okay, listening to everyone, this project is in the 6th Ward. It's four blocks from my home. I've met the, excuse me, I've met the person running it, doing it. I think he has a good plan because this is just the first step. I know we're giving it to him cheap for a buck, but I am hoping and talking to him that the dollar we give him the break, he may give us a $100 break on whatever he's going to do. He's still going to have storage and so on. This way, keep some of it off the street, keep some of it away from the school. Like I said, this is the first step. Cross the street and so on is 3-4 steps that is in development. And like they said before, once they found that he's doing it, there are other people coming in looking around. Not saying they're going to build, but they're looking. But you need someone to start. Like I said before, about a couple of months ago, we talked about this here. You have to start somewhere. And like I said, it was not in my ward. Don't put this in my ward. Don't put this in my ward. But 6th Ward, you got to start someplace. And I think this is a good start. I think it's a good project. I think the city will definitely benefit by this. This little giveaway, which it is, a giveaway, I hope comes back to us 100-fold. because I hope he takes the good, that's good intentions. But like I said, this is 4 blocks from my house, 5 blocks, whatever it is. I pass by 6th School every day. I talk to the principal there, and we're hoping that everything can work out well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Sadowski. Councilwoman Yamakaitis?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. As Mr. Sadowski said, it is a giveaway. Where can you rent storage space for 10 cents a month? I received numerous phone calls last night and this morning asking if they could have a piece of this pie. Some of the residents who are paying $10 a month for garbage want to know if they could get storage space for 10 cents a month through the city. One thing that hasn't been touched upon here is the historical value of that piece of property, that firehouse. And for a storage place for construction materials, I asked what kind of care would be given to that place. If it's a pigsty now, you can imagine what's going to be happening moving construction materials. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mayor, aren't they going to redo the doors?
Yeah, I think we should take an up or down vote on this, but what they're going to be doing is they're going to be cleaning up. They're going to have one office. Since the nonprofit is upstairs, they're going to put a door to separate the nonprofit from the second floor, from the first floor. They're going to clean up. Again, I think we've talked this to death, Council President. Let's take an up or down vote on it, please.
I agree. Motion, please.
Yes, Council President. I seek a motion to approve 2013-325 and seek a second.
Second. Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yamakaitis?
No.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
No.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
No, one comment. Just real quick, if you guys go right down the street, in my ward, I got redevelopment, and we didn't rent out that land. 46 units being built right on Elizabeth Avenue, and they're building another 46, and we didn't have to rent that out. So my answer is no.
Colbus?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. Council, in order to take into consideration public input into proposed ordinance, will allow 3 minutes for each individual to speak on the ordinance on first reading. Council will not answer any questions. Everyone is reminded the public hearing on each of these ordinances be held next month at the council meeting. We'll start with ordinance on first reading, 5748.
An ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 7 traffic as follows. Section 7-22.1 four-way stop intersection, add East Elm Street and Washington Avenue.
Anyone from the public wishes to make a comment? Seeing none, I ask for a motion.
Council President, make a motion for the introduction of ordinance 57-28 and ask for a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yamakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Colibus?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 5749.
An ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 7 traffic as follows. Section 7-12 parking time limited, delete from 7-12.2B. Time limit metered parking, Section 2-5 in its entirety. Add new Section 7-12.2B. Time limit metered parking, Sections 2-5.
Members of the public wish to comment? Please come up. State your name and your address.
My name is Sylvia Weisbrod. I live at 429 Ainsworth Street. I wasn't intending to speak about this, but just the other day I was over by the train station and I noticed that Linden Avenue had no cars parked there, which was very surprising because I used to teach at School 6 and that was always packed. So I was wondering why. And then I see that you've got a limit of only 3 hours. Now, if somebody is going to go to work and they're taking the train, or they're going to see a show and they're taking the train, and they can get only 3 hours, and it's going to cost them $1, and they can't make any, and they can't put more money into the meter, you're losing some income. That was empty, and that's strange to see it empty.
Mrs. Zach, could you respond to that, please?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just
Thank you.
wondering why we're losing the revenue.
Motion on 5749.
Council President, I'd like to introduce ordinance 57-49 and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Colvis?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 5750.
An ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 7 traffic as follows. Section 7-15, parking by permit only in designated residential areas. 7-15.1, parking decal shall be valid for a 3-year period.
Members of the public have any comments? Motion, please.
Yes, Council President. I ask for the introduction of 57-50 and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Before I vote, I'm going to vote yes, but I can see where this is going to be throughout the whole city. Because once you do it in one section, the other section wants it. So the city has to be prepared for this. I vote yes.
Cosby Hurling?
I'm going to vote yes and say you are absolutely right, Councilman Sadowski, because we're next in the Fifth Ward. We have issues.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
No, because like Councilman Sadowski said, this is going to be an issue, and we have no way of paying for this as far as covering our costs of handling the volume of parking decals we're going to have to issue in. So, no.
Colvis?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
No. 5752.
5751. An
One up.
ordinance
Thank
to
you.
amend and supplement Chapter 7 Traffic, Section 7-35, Regulation for the Movement and Parking of Traffic on Municipal Property and Board of Education property as follows. Delete Section 7-35.2 in its entirety, add new Section 7-35.2, Municipal Parking Lots.
Comments? Motion.
Council President, I'd like to introduce ordinance 5751 and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Colvis?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 5752.
An ordinance to amend an ordinance entitled, an ordinance establishing a schedule of titles, salary ranges, and regulations for maintaining the classification and salary standardization plan of all employees of the City of Linden, passed August 15, 1995, and approved August 16, 1995. Schedule 4, HH1.
Public comments, please. Motion, please.
Mr. President, I move for introduction of ordinance 5752 and request a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Colvis?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. 5753, please.
An ordinance of the City of Linden creating a residential overnight parking permit for certain areas. East Elizabeth Avenue area establishing a 3-year parking permit.
Members of the public wish to comment on this? Seeing none, I ask for a motion.
Council President, I ask for a motion for the introduction of ordinance 57-53 and ask for a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Looking at the other one that I voted yes and I shouldn't have, I vote no.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Colvis?
No.
Mr. Moore?
No. 5754.
An ordinance of the City of Linden creating a residential overnight parking permit for certain areas, Northwood Avenue area, establishing a 3-year parking permit.
Members of the public wish to comment? Seeing none, I ask for a motion.
Yes, Council President. I seek the introduction of 57-54 and seek a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Yemakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
No.
Cosby Hurling?
Yes.
Armstead?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Colibus?
No.
Mr. Moore?
No. 5755.
Bond ordinance providing an appropriation of $112,000 for the acquisition of 2 dump trucks for the Public Works Department and authorizing the issuance of $106,400 in bonds or notes to finance part of the cost thereof.
Comments from members of the public? Motion, please.
Council President, make a motion for the introduction of ordinance 57-55 and ask for a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski.
Yes.
Medina.
Yes.
Yemakaitis.
Yes.
Sadowski.
Yes.
Cosby Hurling.
Yes.
Armstead.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Colibus.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes. 5756.
Bond ordinance providing an appropriation of $121,000 for the installation of traffic signals and related traffic improvements for the police department and authorizing the issuance of $114,950 in bonds or notes to finance part of the cost.
Members of the public, comments? Motion, please.
Council President, make a motion for the introduction for ordinance 57-56 and ask for a second.
Second.
Mr. Kaczynski.
Yes.
Medina.
Yes.
Yemakaitis.
Yes.
Sadowski.
Yes.
Cosby Hurling.
Yes.
Armstead.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Colibus.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes. Move into comments from members of the public in attendance on city business only. No personal, political, derogatory comments not to exceed 5 minutes. I would like to call up Mike Smith from
Say it again.
818 Allen Street.
Oh, they left, Mr. Smith.
Anne Marie Vasquez, 923 Smith Street. Ann Bruna, 329 Academy Terrace. Would you come up, please? You have 3 minutes.
Yes, I hope you all have my letter concerning the old American cyanamide waste disposal site. There are plans to develop that site. At the moment, it serves as a holding basin for excess storm water. If that site is paved over, there are some people who fear it's going to cause flooding in the upstream communities. And the first community that would be affected, of course, would be Linden.
Ma'am.
I'm going to ask you to hold comments until she's done with her questions.
Can't hear her on the
The
mic.
site is in Cartelet.
Could you speak into the microphone?
The site is in Cartelet.
Just pull it down.
But I'm asking you to ask the Army Corps of Engineers and the DEP to make a flood impact study before allowing this to go ahead. It doesn't hurt to have all the facts at your fingertips before you do anything of this sort. And there are organizations, including the Lower River Watershed Advisory Board and the New York, New Jersey Baykeeper, who are very worried that this is going to make flood conditions much worse along the river. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Yamakaitis?
Yes, I'd like to respond to this. I expressed some concerns regarding some of the flooding that went on in the Tremley Point area last year. There was work done down in the fields there where they elevated the plane, and for the first time in 2 years, we experienced all this flooding. We lost our Public Works building, and I agree with you, man, we should look into this. It was something I requested last year, and I hope the council, we could follow through on this.
Thank you. Mr. Roman, Summit Terrace.
Hello, John Roman, Summit Street. Selling Linden short. No sooner do you politicians get $10 to cover the current budget woes, and you go ahead and sell out our future in Linden. Give the contractor this, give the contractor that. What's the contractor giving Linden? Lots of false hope. He's going to tell you what you want to hear. The more he's talking, the less he's telling you the truth. And I thought building 2 homes on old one-family property was bad, but at least they have off-street parking. The bottom dollar for the contractor is putting money in his pocket, not in the pockets of the city of Linden. This isn't Rawway, Hoboken, or Atlantis. Just because there's flooding doesn't mean there's going to be a fire sale on city property, tax collections, or buying out of their properties to build more parks. Just because you say a train transit project is geared for professionals doesn't mean they can't raise a family in those dwellings. You politicians are willing to bend the rules to get contractors to build on empty property in the town and spend the city's money to clear these properties as well. Can't the contractors change what they want to do and build with adequate off-street parking? I can tell you this, you can put a lemonade stand on that property over there on Wood Avenue and screw up traffic. Bottom line is always their dollars in their pockets, while the city residents of Linden count dimes for decades. Thank you.
Thank you. Sylvia Westbrot, 429 Ainsworth.
I have a question. I was looking at your faces when Miss Brunner was speaking. Did you read her letter? Did you get one?
Yeah, I read
Copy?
it, and I agree with her letter.
Because I
read it.
saw you didn't look like you had read it. This last weekend, Ada and I went over to where we were hoping to see the site. And I guess, and for you, Mr. Brown, they're going to build small mountains on those dump sites. And that's what we were concerned about, because upstream and downstream are going to be affected if we have more storms with the intensity that Superstorm Sandy had. And there's no doubt in most scientists' mind that global warming or climate change is going to get better. It's going to get worse, and we've certainly seen an awful lot of that as evidence. Another thing is that it's on a wetlands, and the wetlands is supposed to be, by federal law, a protected area. You've got some endangered species there, and I don't think that the tractors and the cranes and stuff like that, the metal ones, are going to be looking at the ground that they're treading on. So I think that you should really look into this a little bit further, simply because it is, and I heard that the houses that were affected are going to be demolished and nothing will be put back. But upstream and downstream will be affected, because if you get a blockage, if there's any sort of, I know that the watershed wants to put in holding places for excess water when there's flooding, but we don't know how much that's going to be. And when you've got water coming down off of a 19-foot man-made mountain, something has got to give. So that was one of the things I just wanted to add to what she had said, because I didn't know if everybody had read that. The other thing I wanted to add to is everybody was talking about the trees. I once was a shade tree commissioner here, and I liked it. And I went around on my bicycle, and I met all my people, and so forth and so on. I had a tree that came down in Sandy, and it was of no fault of my tree. It was a city tree, and a company called Creamery, and I know I'm not saying it properly, had been hired by the water company, and they came and they cut the roots of my tree in order to put in this tank, and they put it in the wrong place. But they did it, and they said, oh, the tree isn't going to fall down. Well, it did. And I got the water company itself to come down, and the man who had been a shade tree commissioner in his town came over, and he was shocked. He said, they didn't have to do this. I think that when an outside company gets in and cuts down or cuts the roots of a city tree, they should be reprimanded. They came over, and the city, I called them up, and they said, my tree has fallen down. It didn't fall all the way. It fell into another tree. I watched it for 4 hours going like this. I was scared it was going to hit the house, but it didn't. And I'm furious at Creamery for touching the roots of the tree and putting the tank in the wrong spot. They didn't know what they're doing. So I talked to Mr. Tandle. He says they do that a lot. We've had lots of trees that have been damaged by outside companies that come in and hit or do something to weaken our trees. I had a little leaf linden. It was a lovely tree. And I was furious, and nothing could be done. So I think maybe the city should try to tell outsiders, don't touch our trees unless somebody from the Shade Tree Commission is there to oversee you, or Public Works, because they've been trained as well. That's it.
Mr. Hudak, on her behalf, is it possible to have utilities not do that?
Utilities have come in and, I don't know about the particular instance she's talking about, but in most cases, they usually contact the city that they're coming in. They are coming in under whatever direction they're working at by BP orders and regulations. They have to maintain their systems. For example, after Hurricane Irene and a couple storms, PSC&G was in, their contractors trimming a lot of trees because the BPU put it in as part of the program to prevent wires from going down. So each situation is different. Obviously, if a contractor made a mistake at that time, probably not knowing the situation, the particular situation, but if a outside contractor came in and made a mistake and dug in the wrong area, cutting a tree, I know the Shade Tree Commission would usually have something to say about that, and engineering on their bonds would force them to fix whatever was necessary.
They were putting in their own, Creamery was hired to put in the tank that was supposed to be able to read my meter without going out of the car to do so. But as being a Shade Tree Commissioner, I told them that not to touch the roots, and they just went right ahead.
Councilman Sadowski?
Just, excuse me, to mention something like this. After the storm, well, a couple of months after, made no difference, was an outside company, it must have been a gas company, fixing the curb, neighbor down the block, and she came over and she had the tree and these roots. Just then, we had someone from the engineering department come by for something else. I pulled him over, he went and looked at him, he told them, don't cut those roots. I mean, it was just lucky he was there. They listened, they did whatever they had to do, they went around them. But I can see your point where if he didn't show up and tell them, it would have been cut. I mean, who knows what would have happened to that tree.
Well, like I said, I spoke with Jeff, and he says that's common. They do that. In fact, he was telling me that there was another company that came by and cut down trees because the owner of the house didn't want the trees.
No, but I mean,
And there was
I can see
they're
your
city
point
trees.
where maybe we should have something like that. But it was Joey Kroback from engineering, I'll just mention his name. He happened to be there for something else, and he went over and he talked to the person and the people digging it up, and they agreed with him when he pointed out a few things, and I guess we were lucky. But I guess it does work if you have someone there.
Councilman Brown?
Well, thank you.
Council President, I don't know if the lawyers will handle this or an engineer, because the same problem happens with the sidewalks. Like, I have an old tree in my ward, and I said I refuse to get the sidewalks done because when we have the sidewalk done, they cut too deep in the roots and you see trees falling over. So I don't know if when work is getting done, and this would be either to the law department or to the engineer, that one of our staff is there to approve it and to look over. I mean...
Well, you can't be everywhere.
No, I agree, but just as John, you know...
But when
you said
something
that-
happens, they should be fined or something.
Like John, is there some policy that can be put in place, like they have to pay us back for damaged trees, things like that? I mean, maybe there's something that can be looked into.
Would you bring it up, and we'll send it over to the Public Works Committee for them to look into
Public
it?
Works or engineer?
When I was a Shade Tree Commissioner on Greer Avenue, a tree came down after somebody had,
Councilwoman
Cut the
Cosby Hurling, engineer or chairman, would you take that into consideration?
Not the chairwoman this year, you took me off.
We'll look into it as engineering committee, Council President, myself,
Thank you
other members.
for edification.
we almost had a fatal accident on Greer Avenue when I was commissioner. And
So.
they cut the roots, the tree fell
Chairman
down on the
Kalibas
lady's
is
roof,
going
on
to look into it for
the
us.
hood. Mhm.
Thank you.
You never know what's going to happen. Thank you.
John Francis Roman.
He left.
The following council meetings are as follows. Council meetings, Monday, September 16th, 2013 at 6 p.m. in Council Conference Room, City Hall, 301 North Wood Avenue. Council conference meeting prior to the council meeting, Tuesday, September 17th, 2013 at 6 p.m. in the Council Conference Room, City Hall, 301 North Wood Avenue. Council meeting Tuesday, September 18th, 2003, 7 p.m. in the Council Chambers, City Hall, 301 Northwood Avenue. Ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Clerk,
Mr.
call-
Kaczynski? Mr. Kaczynski? Medina?
Yes.
Yamakaitis?
Yes.
Sadowski?
Yes.
Cosby Hurling? Armstead?
Yes.
Yes.
Brown? Kalbas?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Yeah, but he kept going.